afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is 3:02, and it is time to call the City Commission meeting to order. It's great to see everybody that has joined us in person and virtually, and those that are watching live on television. For the invocation today, it is my honor and privilege to introduce my pastor, Associate Reverend Trendy Whitley, the Associate Pastor of Faith Presbyterian Church, that has joined us today to provide the invocation. If you will please stand and join me. Reverend, thank you.
Thank you. Let us pray. Loving God, we give you thanks for tree canopies and high hills. We give you thanks for hospitals that provide care and institutions of higher education that challenge us to expand our way of thinking. And we give you thanks for the heritage of this city from which we can learn, a heritage that includes indigenous peoples, lunch counter sit-ins, and stories of neighbors standing in the gap for one another when help is needed most. This afternoon, we pray for the City of Tallahassee and especially for its commission. We pray that they would not seek quick fixes, but rather would look deep and ask, how might we be called to change in this time? Grant each of them the wisdom and courage to know and do what is right and good and true. Most of all, I pray for all present today, citizens, staff, and elected officials, to speak out when it is time to speak out, to listen patiently and respectfully when it is time to listen. May we always be guided by the spirit of community, the spirit of justice, and the spirit of love. This we pray in the name of all we hold sacred and holy, all that is good and right and true. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is to my right, your left. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Reverend, thank you so much for joining us. We certainly do appreciate it. Before we begin with any agenda modifications, as you notice, the Mayor Pro Tem has not been able to join us today. He is feeling under the weather. He is participating online. Jeremy, on a personal note, we do hope you're feeling better, and we still appreciate you making the dedication to join us virtually. I am in full support of him participating virtually, but we do not have a rule in place that allows that. So if you don't mind, if someone would mind making a motion to allow the Mayor Pro Tem to participate virtually, and we'll take a vote, and then we can get on with the business meeting. Commissioner Williams-Cox?
The dean has spoken.
Oh, okay. I thought you had a question. I'm sorry. Been properly moved to allow the Mayor Pro Tem to participate virtually, seconded by all of us, but Commissioner Williams-Cox for the motion. See no further comment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Excuse me.
Mayor,
Yes,
for clarification, I know
passes
that,
unanimously. Yes, ma'am.
okay, for clarification, I know that in some bodies, if you participate via virtual, your vote does not count towards, however they word it. By participation, we want to make sure he can fully participate, including voting.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Correct, Madam Attorney?
That is correct. We have a quorum present, so he can participate fully by
thank you.
voting.
Sure. Any other questions? Okay, we'll move forward. Mr. City Manager, do we have any agenda modifications?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do. We have item 5.01, which is a presentation of proclamation recognizing April 9th, 2021 as Carl Zerbe Day, has been added to your agenda. Item 9.01 has been pulled from consent. I will note that when we get to the consent agenda.
Excellent. Do we have any questions on the agenda modifications? Okay. Moving forward with the presentation, it's my honor and privilege to recognize Powell Crease of the Lemoyne Arts Foundation that is here joining with us. I am going, because of COVID, we're not going to be able to present directly to you down there. What I'm going to do is I would like to read this proclamation on behalf of the City of Tallahassee And then Powell, I will come down and join you and allow my colleagues to stand behind us so that we can take a picture, if that's all right. But thank you so much for joining us. A proclamation from the governing body of the City of Tallahassee. Whereas Lemoyne's Chain of Parks Art Festival and partners mark April 9th, 2021 as Carl Zerbe Day in honor of the 50th retirement anniversary of Expressionist movement artist and FSU professor Carl Zerbe. To celebrate this milestone and the legacy of Mr. Zerbe, the Chain of Parks Art Festival presents the Zerbe Celebration from April 9th through the 18th, 2021, a citywide multimedia exhibit to pay tribute to Zerbe's lasting impact and influence in our community. And whereas Carl Zerbe was born in Berlin, Germany in 1903 and enjoyed international artistic success as an expressionist, particularly during his time in Boston, Zerbe is well known for reviving the ancient technique in acoustic painting, as well as developing new techniques in acrylic paint. Expressionism not only provided Zerbe with the means to express his emotions, but also as a way to share his observations in reaction to social injustice, most notably his concerns about racial intolerance and segregation in the 1950s and the 1960s. And whereas Lemoyne Arts will be showing 8 never-before-shown pieces for the celebration, along with hosting lectures and roundtable discussions on civil rights, Zerbe, in his time and ours, and birding as Zerbe was best known in Tallahassee for his collection of bird seriographs inspired by his time at St. Mark's Wildlife Sanctuary. And whereas the citywide celebration will inspire and strengthen our vibrant community in a fun and COVID-safe way, thank you, enjoy all that the Zerbe celebration has to offer, and enjoy tasting the German-inspired custom brew created by Proof Brewery called the Zerbe Pilsner in honor of Carl Zerbe's German heritage. Now, therefore, I, John Daly, by the authority vested in me as mayor of the City of Tallahassee, along with my colleagues on the City Commission, do hereby recognize April 9th as Carl Zerbe Day in witness of each and every one of you dated today. Would you please come join me, Powell, for a picture? And colleagues, if you don't mind, we'll stand behind and we'll be able to make this happen.
One more.
Well, I'm a little short for this, but I'll try. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We really appreciate it. I told Carl Zerbe's daughter today about this, and she is over the moon that we are honoring her father in this way. His legacy will hopefully live on through our community, and hopefully everybody will take a moment to participate in the celebration in whatever way makes you comfortable, and appreciate you taking the time to do this. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, and we appreciate you coming out. Let me also remind everyone that our Arts in the Park was named the #1 arts festival a couple of years ago. It is a great celebration. Y'all have gone to great lengths also to make it COVID-friendly, and we certainly do appreciate that. Thank you so much. Mr. Manager, do we have any other announcements come before the City Commission today?
No, sir.
Do we have any appearances by other governments, appointed boards, or committees?
No, sir.
Okay, let's get to citizen input on agenda items. Mr. Clerk, do we have any speakers today?
Yes, Mayor. We have a couple of speakers via WebEx. All of our speakers who are here in person are speaking on unagended items, so we will take them at that later portion of our meeting. So we will begin with Bart Bibler, who is on our WebEx connection. He's speaking on item 1301, which is the Chamber of Commerce presentation. Bart Bibler.
Mr. Bibler, your name and address for the record, please. Mr. Bibler?
I know he was connected, but we will see if Willie Haynes had also registered.
Good afternoon.
There we go.
There we go.
My name is Bart Bibler, founder of I Hope Inc., LLC, 3673 Mossy Creek Lane, Tallahassee. I Hope Inc. is a social purpose business created to improve race relations and crime prevention in Leon County. With the assistance of Tom Taylor and Maisha Mitchell, I Hope assisted in organizing the 32304 Plus Prosperity for All Summits, which focused our mission on poverty reduction. One of the most important recommendations of the 32304 Plus Summits was the creation of a collective impact to reduce poverty roundtable, comprised of all sectors of our community, including neighborhoods and residents. This was considered to be essential to implementation of the recommended goals, strategies, and actions for the 10 key issue areas of poverty reduction. This recommendation was based on our discovery of the Central Iowa Opportunity Program and the Tamarack Institute's Vibrant Communities Program, founded in Canada, and their effectiveness in reducing poverty. I'm here today to applaud the Tallahassee Chamber for accepting the Florida Chamber's challenge of leading the Prosperity Leon initiative. It is imperative that the business sector create a collaborative specifically focused on poverty reduction and bring the power of the private sector to the overall collective impact to reduce poverty roundtable. And I want to thank Commissioner Richardson for his participation in the United to Ensure Prosperity for All of Leon County virtual event held on March 26. The primary topics included setting a poverty reduction goal and examples of how to achieve it. The Tamarack Institute's Vibrant Communities program was created in Canada in 2002 and empowered more than 200,000 households to escape poverty in its first 10 years. Between 2015 and 2020, more than 1.3 million people were lifted out of poverty. Canada's poverty rate has been reduced to less than 10%. And the Central Iowa Opportunity Vibrant Communities program was created in 2014. Since then, the percentage of Central Iowans who are self-sufficient has grown from 65.2% to 68%. A Tallahassee-Leon County poverty reduction goal of 20% within 5 years and 50% within 10 years was proposed. This is consistent with the Florida Chamber's statewide goal of reducing childhood poverty by greater than 50% in 10 years, as per their Florida 2030 report. I'm hopeful that the Tallahassee Chamber and Prosperity Leon Initiative will embrace and adopt this goal. As you may have heard, if you don't know where you are going, you will probably end up somewhere else. A goal not written down is a wish. And I am requesting that the City Commission consider two motions. One, to establish a Tallahassee-Leon County poverty reduction goal of 20% within 5 years and 50% within 10 years. And number two, to bring back to the Commission an agenda item to become a member of the Vibrant Communities Program.
You're at 3 minutes.
Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Mr. Clerk.
The only other speaker we have on agenda items is Willie Haynes. He had not connected yet when I entered the room, but I wanted to be sure we give Willie Haynes an opportunity if he has now dialed in.
Mr. Haynes, are you with us?
Items is Willie Haynes. He had not connected yet when I entered the room, but I wanted to. With him not available, Mayor, we don't have any other speakers either in person or virtually on items on our agenda.
Excellent. We are on the consent agenda items. Is there a motion for consent?
So move.
Been properly moved by Commissioner Williams-Cox, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. Seeing any further comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Commissioner Matlow is an aye as well. That is a 5-0 vote. We are now on item 10.01.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item involves you're seeking your authority for a couple of grants, one from the Florida Department of Emergency Management for police analysts. This is kind of a recurring grant that we've been able to take advantage of, and another that was to be from the Institute of Police Technology and Management. I sent an email shortly or a short time ago, we learned today that that grant is no longer available. They just pulled that back. It's not available to anybody that's not related to Tallahassee at all. So I'd like to revise the recommended option prior to your discussion.
Oh, we go ahead when you're ready to provide that.
Thank you, sir. The revised recommendation would be to approve acceptance and expenditure of $58,000 in grant funds from the Florida Department of Emergency Management. This item would only involve that grant. Chief Revel is joining us via WebEx. If you have any questions, this item was pulled by Commissioner Porter for further discussion.
Excellent. Commissioner Porter, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was hoping, I had some questions for our manager, who I spoke about this earlier in our briefing. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about how we find these grants, how we apply for these grants, where that's coming from, and how we prioritize the grants that we apply for.
Mr. Mayor? Yes, Commissioner, thank you. I can answer that, and we do it in numerous forms, given the breadth of our organization, but we do have a centralized grants management group that was organized several years ago to really bring about the thrust of seeking grants and managing them. There are situations, these are two good examples of grant opportunities that come to the department level or the sector level. In these cases, the one from the Florida Department of Emergency Management is one that's recurring, and that is more just routine in nature that we would continue to seek approval for every year, that we don't have to seek that grant, but yet we seek the Commission's approval to continue to receive it. So that's not something we proactively go and have to compete for. In the case of the one I just mentioned that was pulled back, that was one that we were noticed. That noticing, it's a relatively small grant, $10,000, and that would come straight to the department, fairly straightforward. We have a lot of expertise in the departments to apply for the grant. In this case, we would have been seeking Commission approval to apply for it because it worked within the timing. For the significant big grants, so they do clear through our central department. We have an item later in your agenda about Star Metro and about a $9 million grant, so those would be managed in our bigger area. I think this is a good discussion, though, because even more and more grant opportunities seem to be coming, and therefore I do feel comfortable that we have established the resources and the breadth of operation to be able to pursue these, what we believe to be many grant opportunities.
Okay, thank you. And I'll make a motion to approve staff recommendation.
All right, move to approve, made by Commissioner Porter, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. Seeing no further comment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously 5-0. We are on item number 12.01, the introduction of ordinances. Madam Attorney, we have a series of introduction of ordinances, so just walk us through it.
All right, will do. Thank you. So item number 12.01 is introduction of ordinance number 21-0-14, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee, Florida, amending sections 14-3.310, 14-4.302, and 14-4.402 of the Code of General Ordinances of the City of Tallahassee relating to police employees' pension provisions and firefighters' contributions, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. The recommended action is option 1, introduce ordinance number 21-0-14 and set the first and only public hearing for April 21st, 2021 at 5:00 p.m. in the City of Tallahassee City Commission chambers at City Hall.
The recommended action is option 1, which is basically to accept the introduction. Do you want a formal motion after every introduction, or just see if
Yes.
we have any? Okay. Recommended action is for option number 1, acceptance of the,
Move acceptance.
been properly moved by Commissioner Williams-Cox.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Richardson. Any further comment? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously 5-0. 12.02, please, Madam Attorney.
Thank you. Item number 12.02, introduction of ordinance number 21-0-16, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee adopting a small-scale amendment to the 2030 Tallahassee-Leon County Comprehensive Plan to change the future land use map designation from the University Transition Land Use category to the Suburban Land Use category, providing for conflict, severability, and an effective date. The recommended action is option 1, introduce ordinance 21-0-16, and set the first and only public hearing for April 13th, 2021 at 6:00 p.m. at the joint meeting of the City Commission and Leon County Board of County Commissioners in the Leon County Board of County Commissioners Chambers in the Leon County Courthouse.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved by Commissioner Williams-Cox, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. Any further comment? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously, 5-0. 12.03, Madam Attorney.
Thank you. Item number 12.03 is introduction of ordinance number 21-Z-07, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee, Florida, designating and including additional territory as in single-family detached residential R2 from general commercial C2 on the official zoning map, providing for conflicts and severability and providing an effective date. Recommended action is option 1, introduce ordinance number 21-Z-07 and set the public hearing date for April 21st, 2021 at 5:00 p.m. in the City of Tallahassee City Commission Chambers at City Hall.
Is there a motion for approval of option number 1?
Move acceptance.
Been properly moved by Commissioner Williams-Cox. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Richardson. Any further comment? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Passes unanimously, 5-0. 12.04, Madam Attorney.
Thank you. Item number 12.04 is introduction of ordinance number 21-Z-08, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee, Florida, designating and including additional territory as in open space on the official zoning map, providing for conflicts and severability and providing an effective date. The recommended action is option 1, introduce ordinance number 21-Z-08 and set the public hearing date for April 21st, 2021 at 5:00 p.m. in the City of Tallahassee City Commission Chambers at City Hall.
Okay, is there a motion for option number 1?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Properly moved by Commissioner Richardson. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Second by Commissioner Porter. Seeing any further comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously, 5-0. 12.05, Madam Attorney.
Item number 12.05, introduction of ordinance number 21-Z-09, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee, Florida, designating and including additional territory as in University Urban Village from University Transition on the official zoning map, providing for conflicts and severability and providing an effective date. Recommended action is option 1, introduce ordinance number 21-Z-09 and set the public hearing date for April 21st, 2021 at 5:00 p.m. in the City of Tallahassee City Commission Chambers at City Hall.
Is there a motion for option number 1, the recommended action?
Move staff recommendation, Mr. Mayor.
Properly moved by Commissioner Richardson. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Porter. Seeing no further comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously, 5-0. 12.06, Madam Attorney.
Item number 12.06, introduction of ordinance number 21-Z-11, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee, Florida, designating and including additional territory as in general commercial on the official zoning map for the City of Tallahassee, adopted and established by the City Commission, providing for conflicts and severability and providing an effective date. Recommended action is option 1, introduce ordinance number 21-Z-11 and set the public hearing date for May 12, 2021 at 5:00 p.m. in the City of Tallahassee City Commission Chambers at City Hall.
Is there a motion for the recommended action?
Move staff recommendation on option 1.
Been properly moved by Commissioner Richardson. Is there a second to the motion?
I have a question. I'll wait until the motion.
Can we get a second, then I'll come
I'll
back?
second it for
All right,
discussion.
seconded by Commissioner Williams-Cox. You are recognized, Commissioner Williams-Cox.
I am concerned because of what is proposed to be put here is a Tom Thumb convenience store, I'm assuming with gas and what have you. It's near a neighborhood, and I'm not sure if the neighbors are aware of what is being planned there. I based that on very limited access to neighbors in that neighborhood to, I was told that they weren't aware. So I want to make sure that the neighbors are aware of what is being planned on that corner, because it's on a medical boulevard area, but their neighborhood sits over off of, I think it's Dumars and what have you. So I want to make sure that the neighbors have been notified that this thing is coming, or it's being planned.
Sure. Mr. City Manager, would you like to provide comment?
Yes, sir, and thank you, Commissioner, for that question. I can confirm that the requisite notices were sent, but that's 1,000 feet from the subject property. I'm not sure how deep that penetrates, and there are a number of residential areas. Prior to the public hearing, we will engage, and I've already engaged our neighborhood affairs group outside of planning to make sure the neighborhood associations and the neighbors, these are the kind of subjects oftentimes we'll hear about that people didn't know, that the requisite notices went, but they didn't know and it didn't connect. So I think you raised a good point to make sure just everybody's informed about the potential zoning change and the intended use. So we'll take advantage of our neighborhood affairs group to make sure they use their connections and everybody's informed of the potential change prior to the public hearing.
So with that in mind, I'd like to rescind my second and recommend that we don't introduce this now, but we introduce it at the next meeting once we have a better idea of whether the neighbors have been informed.
Okay. So we have a motion on the table, but without a second. Is there a second to the motion? I'll second the motion for discussion. So is this time pertinent, Madam Attorney?
I think because the public hearing is set right now for May 12th, if you continued it to your next meeting, I think all of the appropriate notices will still be able to get out.
Okay.
I
So
would rescind my motion,
okay.
Mr. Mayor, and to move that we
Continuance.
continue this item until what's the date of the meeting?
April 21st, is it?
Until the April 21st commission meeting.
Okay. Commissioner Williams-Cox, would you like to second that?
I'd second that motion.
Great. Commissioner Porter, you had comment?
Yeah, I thank you for raising those concerns. I agree with postponing. I did want to make a comment, not about this issue in particular, but about in general, these ordinances, because I feel like the average person should be able to skim an agenda and see whether something's happening in their neighborhood. As far as I know, there's nothing in Florida statute that says we have to title these ordinances the way they are. When I kind of am making my notes, I have these ordinances and it says, the address, or if there's not an address, the cross streets. I just think that would be a helpful discussion moving forward so that people can just look at an agenda without opening the attachments, looking at the map, going on Google, is this going to affect my neighborhood? So that's just a general point that I would like to see us consider, but I support the motion to postpone.
Okay. Motion on the table is for continuance. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously, 5-0. Item number 12.07, Madam Attorney.
Thank you. Item number 12.07 is introduction of ordinance number 21-Z-12, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee, Florida, designating and including additional territory as in Central Core with historical preservation overlay from Central Core on the official zoning map of the City of Tallahassee adopted and established by the City Commission, adding a structure to the local register of historic places, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. The recommended action is option 1, introduce ordinance number 21-Z-12, and set the first and only public hearing for May 12, 2021 at 5:00 p.m. in the City of Tallahassee City Commission chambers at City Hall.
Move acceptance of option 1.
Second.
Been properly moved by Commissioner Williams-Cox. The recommended action, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously, 5-0. 12.08, Madam Attorney.
Thank you. Item number 12.08 is the introduction of ordinance number 21-Z-13, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee, Florida, designating and including additional territory as in neighborhood boundary 1 from residential preservation 2 on the official zoning map. providing for conflicts and severability, and providing an effective date. The recommended action is option 1, introduce ordinance number 21-Z-13 and set the first public hearing on May 12, 2021 at 5:00 p.m. in the City of Tallahassee City Commission chambers at City Hall, and the second and final public hearing for June 16, 2021 at 5:00 p.m. in the City of Tallahassee City Commission chambers at City Hall.
Is there a motion for the recommended action?
Move staff recommendation on option number 1.
Second.
Been properly moved by Commissioner Richardson, seconded by Commissioner Porter. Seeing no further comment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously, 5-0. We are on item number 12.09. Madam Attorney.
Item number 12.09, introduction of ordinance number 21-Z-17, an ordinance of the City of Tallahassee, Florida, designating land as commercial parkway on the official zoning map from University Transition, providing for conflict and severability, and providing an effective date. The recommended action is option 1, introduce ordinance 21-Z-17 and set the first and only public hearing for April 13, 2021 at 6:00 p.m. at the joint meeting of the City Commission and the Leon County Board of County Commissioners in the Leon County Board of County Commissioners chambers in the Leon County Courthouse.
Okay, is there a motion for recommended action?
So moved.
Been properly moved by Commissioner Porter. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Commissioner Williams-Cox, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously, 5-0. Mr. Manager, we are on policy formation and direction. By the way, Madam Attorney, thank you. That was a laundry list of introductions, and you did wonderful.
Thank you.
We are on item number 13.01. Mr. Manager, would you like to tee this one up for us?
I would. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is a presentation from the Greater Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce on a community scorecard they have put together that measures progress and work in key areas to lead to a diverse economy and create a vibrant community. Today, we're joined by Sue Dick, President and CEO of the Greater Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce. Good to see you, Sue. And Jay Smith, who's the chairman, and Jay is going to provide the presentation.
Mr. Smith, thank you so much for joining us today. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Mr. Manager. Thank you for everything you all have done the past year on behalf of the business community. You all have stepped up in a major way. This was a major curveball that all of us were thrown, and can't thank you enough for all the leadership you all have shown and the outreach and the communication you've provided. So first of all, thank you. Similar to you all, when COVID hit, we as businesses and as the chamber, we were all at that stage where we're all trying to manage and battle and keep people employed and do all those things that we were trying to do in that unprecedented time. At that same time, we kind of really took a look at ourselves and what we were doing and what we needed to be doing to support our business community. So we pulled together and took a hard look, and really started formulating what we wanted to do going forward the next few years as a community and as a chamber. So we looked very hard at our mission and vision and kind of what our priorities are going forward. Of course, our mission is to lead and promote the success of business, driving a higher quality of life for our community. That's a big component, again, of what we're all trying to do, and of course you are trying to do as a commission body to really improve the lives of our community. We're trying to do that as a business community. We changed what we really wanted to focus on. Our three key strategic priorities are talent, workforce, and education. Again, that's something we've always paid really close attention to. Of course, economic competitiveness and business climate, making sure we're creating a climate that allows people to thrive, to drive new business, and to engage and grow their own businesses here in the community. And the last one is something that Mr. Bibler spoke about specifically, is our focus on the community and prosperity, something how we as businesses can really engage and really change that dynamic. So from that, we really wanted to look at something that we could really focus on, not only as a business community, but again, with you all, the city, of course, the county and the school board, to really have some key driving numbers that we wanted to look for. So what we created is what we want to call our community scorecard. This is something that we update on a monthly basis that we're going to share. We'll come and speak to you all and talk about the highlights and successes, but also some of the challenges we're all facing. This is information that OEV provides, DEO provides, and the Florida Chamber Foundation, and what we did is we combined a lot of these stats, and what we wanted to look at is the three main categories here. The top line, as you all see, is jobs. What we're doing is a jobs focused on the private sector jobs that we're creating. Also, the number of minority businesses our community is creating. That's something we want to put a heavy emphasis and focus on, is driving the number of minority businesses we have in our community. Of course, unemployment rate, which we've talked a lot about here lately, has gone down in February, and so it's a great number as we're coming out of COVID, and the businesses are all getting up and running, which is tremendous for our community. The second line is something, again, that typically, businesses haven't really paid close attention to, and again, I know the CSC brought a lot of this forward as well, but this is something that we want all of us to be focused on, is what we're doing on the education level and what we're doing to support our school system when the children show up at kindergarten. That kindergarten readiness score is something that we really want to drive towards that 100% goal. So when they show up for school, they're ready. And I think CSC is doing something very, we're going to work on that very closely, and this is something as businesses and I'll talk about a key function we're talking about doing with the Leon County school system this fall. But again, that follows through into third grade reading scores and high school graduation rate. Again, the students aren't showing up prepared and ready. It's hard. Once they hit that third grade reading component, it's hard to ever have them come back and achieve success. So we want to make sure we're preparing those students before they ever get there. And then the last one is something the governor's focused on, the post-secondary attainment rate for our community, making sure that our community and our citizens have either had the chance to go to a secondary education. We're providing workforce development for them, and a key focus of how we're working there. The last line is more on that community and prosperity side, poverty rate, crime, and the GDP our community is creating. Again, these are things that we just want all of us focused on, all of us talking about, all of us driving our daily decisions, kind of our mission statement as a community that we need to be focused on improving these numbers and driving growth for all of our community. We're proud that we've worked with a lot of the different associations in town. We've pay a lot of time and attention to working closely with the Capital City Chamber and the Big Bend Minority Chamber. We're meeting with them on a monthly basis, talking about joint goals that we can all work together on and drive forward. One of those was a joint PSA that we did. I think it's teed up to be able to run real quick for you all based on the CARES Act money that we were able to provide for the community.
The Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce, along with our friends at the Capital City Chamber and Big Bend Minority Chamber, want to encourage small business owners to contact your financial institution for support and assistance in filing for Payroll Protection Plan, often referred to as PPP.
If you receive funding in the first draw of PPP, you are still eligible and can apply for financial support again. Funds can be used to help payroll costs, including benefits, mortgage interest, rent, utilities, and worker protection costs due to COVID-19.
Don't delay. The deadline to submit to the Small Business Administration is March 31st. Please contact your financial institution to determine if you qualify and to start the process. We are proud of our small business owners. Thank you for what you do for our community.
Thank you, Sue Dick,
Katrina Tuggerson,
Antonio Jefferson.
Again, that's a key thing that we've done together as a tribe body to really come together and try to assist the community. A few other things I wanted to highlight. Next is what we're calling Talent Hub 2030. This is another grant through the PPP CARES Act that we were able to work with our community. And what it's doing is it's connecting the employers and the employees, potential employees in our community. And it's also connecting a number of not-for-profit support organizations like Tempo, which of course you all know very well here, connecting Tempo, Lively, and TCC, and really connecting the dot between potential employees and the opportunities and grants that are out there for training and workforce development, and then connecting those with employers. So there's a lot of programs out there that are out here in our community, but this is really driving that connection of all of these push points here. Specifically with the city and how this impacts one of your projects, again, as you all know, the Tallahassee Police Department project is something that my company is working closely with you all on. We are using Talent Hub currently right now to connect employees with the subcontractors that are going to be on that project, and use this training opportunity to really connect the dot on what we were pushing for with our disadvantaged workers program and our externship program. So we're not only making an impact on that first dollar that you all are funding and providing on that new construction project, but it's a dollar that's going to have ripple effect because we're training people that are going to have jobs for the long term. So again, this is something we're really proud of and we're pushing forward. The next one is Classroom Connection. So we're working closely with Leon County Schools. We're planning in the fall to have every kindergarten classroom adopted by a business. So that classroom is specifically connected to a business where they're reading to those, they're mentoring, they're providing assistance financially, and also making sure those students know that the community cares. And again, engaging those students early on so we're making that impact on that third grade reading score. Another component that we're proud of that we've been working closely with you all on, we've worked very closely with Karen Jamunville and Bill Pable on their outreach effort they're looking for in the proposed neighborhood compatibility ordinance. Again, this is something you all have done a great job of engaging all of us so we can come up with a great ordinance that's going to be successful for our community. So thank you to you all, and thank you specifically to Karen and Bill for their leadership on that. And lastly is something that I wanted to highlight that specifically a few key individuals in this room are a part of. Next Tuesday, we are having our professional women's forum called Breaking Barriers, Women in Leadership. We're going to feature Renata Marshall, Cassandra Jackson, and Kara Jamunville next week. And of course, Commissioner Diane Williams-Cox is also going to be a part of that and be a key component of introducing these three great ladies and what they're doing. And again, thank you for you all for showing that leadership and highlighting the leadership of women in our community and the leadership. So I just wanted to thank you all again for everything you're doing. We're going to come back to you all and update you on this monthly scorecard. But again, thank you, and let's keep driving this community forward for everybody. Any questions?
Jay, thank you so much. Mr. Smith, thank you so much, and thank you for your leadership as the chair of the chamber. And we appreciate the relationship of all three chambers and the great work that you're doing. There's no action item on this. It's simply a presentation, but we'll open it up for questions and discussion. Commissioner Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I, first of all, wanted to thank you, Jay, for your leadership with the chamber, and Sue for her many years of administrative support for the chamber and the role that you've played in the community. I'm so glad to see that you're expanding that role and looking at issues like poverty and reading, partnering with the minority chambers, expanding business opportunities, job opportunities throughout the community. So I just want to commend you all on your expanded vision for the Tallahassee Chamber and what you have outlined here today, and we look forward to working with you
Yes, sir.
on those issues.
Yes, sir.
The other issue that I wanted to ask you about was the presentation that Bart made earlier concerning the poverty reduction initiative. Where do you anticipate you all's role being in that as the convening organization? Because I know he's talked to me about an umbrella organization that would convene sort of a roundtable, if you will, of organizations throughout the community to begin to address the issue of poverty and poverty reduction. So have you all determined what role the chamber will play in that?
Not specifically with Mr. Bibler. We've had several meetings with Mr. Bibler and a lot of communication together on how it's going to look like and what, who's going to take the lead and all those things.
Okay.
The big thing is we've got to drive the focus on what we're doing to impact it. So this new committee that we've created is just getting their feet underneath them.
Okay.
So we're letting them kind of establish some key goals there and then really work closely with individuals like Mr. Bibler to, we're calling it Leon, Prosperity Leon. We can tagline it whatever we want, whatever we think the community can really get in behind, but we've got to change the impact on,
Sure.
For everybody in our community. And it's all about jobs at the end of the day, though. Jobs drive prosperity, they drive education opportunities. So these are all things that are tied together, and that's why that scorecard kind of has all of those key components together. So we've got to be hitting on all those points really to change that poverty rate.
Okay. Well, I hope that you all will be able to work together in addition to because there are other organizations in our community that are addressing this same issue as well. And we kind of found that out, how there's silos
Yes,
being
sir.
created, and everybody has an initiative when, even with our homeless issue, we've learned that, you know, we've all got to be working together and we're all rowing in the same direction to address
Yes, sir.
community issues like that. So, you know, rather than starting 2 or 3 or 4 whole new initiatives, that we come together and work together in a common fashion
I
to
completely agree.
address those issues.
I think that's one of my goals this year is to break as many silos as I can to get everybody in the same room.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Smith, great job. And Ms. Dick, thank you for all you do as well. Appreciate y'all coming out today.
Thank you for everybody. Have a good night.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We're on item number 13.02. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item was rescheduled from your last meeting. It is an excellent update that we wanted to share with you and the public. It is an update from our golf department on the Department of Corrections Reentry Program and also the recognition of Jake Gaither Golf Course by the Florida Department of State. Surprisingly, the city has participated in the Department of Corrections Reentry Program for the last 14 years. And I can tell you, when we started that, I think none of us would have dreamed it would be as successful and impactful as it is today. Jan Auger, who is our general manager of golf, is joining us via WebEx, along with Buddy Driggers, her service manager of fleet maintenance. And they're going to share some background and details about the Department of Corrections Reentry Program and how that is working and touch a little bit on the individuals that it serves. In addition, I mentioned the recognition of Jake Gaither Golf Course. Jake Gaither Golf Course has been part of our community since 1956, and it plays an important role in Tallahassee. Of course, we know it's located in our Jake Gaither neighborhood and is well used by the entire community. Its rich history is being recognized this year by the Florida Department of State, and it will be added to the Florida Historical Golf Trail and receive a nomination to the National Register of Historic Places. So really, you know, literally putting it on the map, a really good accolade, and so we'll hear a little more about that. So with that, I would like to recognize Jan. I see her on WebEx and hand it to her for the full presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Manager, Mayor, and Commissioners. It's my pleasure to talk about the reentry program. But first, I would like to introduce Shane Bass, who is our supervisor of golf course maintenance. And he's going to give a quick update of what we have going on at Gaither. And also, I also want to point out, I know that the cart paths have come up before in another meeting, and Shane is the person who designed those cart paths. And we've had tremendous reception about it. Everyone loves them. So Shane, could you please give an update for us?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me fine? Right. Good afternoon. We've been busy at both our courses this past year, but just wanted to give you a quick update on some of the projects we've got going over at Jake Gaither. First, like Ms. Jan just mentioned, we are completed with our 2.5 miles of concrete cart paths. We've also installed 2 new irrigation wells at Jake Gaither, along with some automated irrigation controllers that will help us manage and conserve water while also bettering the playing surfaces. We still have a few projects in the process. One of them is a complete redo of the restroom on the course. We're also building a gathering pavilion outside the clubhouse for people before their game of golf or afterwards to hang around. Some other things we have going on is the renovation or update of the exterior and interior of the clubhouses. And we hope to have all these done for our recognition this summer by the Florida Department of State about us being added to the Florida Golf Trail, and to add to the nomination for the National Registry, that we will be the 5th golf course on the registry if we are accepted to the registry this year. So that's pretty exciting. So With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Ms. Jan and Buddy for the remainder of the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Shane. Appreciate it. So as you know, as Reese said, the city's partnered with the Department of Corrections since 2007. And what this program does is it gives the guys a chance to learn a skill, earn money, get reintroduced into society, and have a better chance of success when they leave. Now, Buddy's going to give the details about the program, but I just want to give you a success story of Elijah Vickers. I'm going to share my screen here with you real quick. So Elijah came through the program in 2013. He'd been locked up for 8 years, and while he was incarcerated, his family had to split up. His 3 sons had to go live with their grandmother, and his wife had to go live with her sister. So, you know, this really tore him up, and he was laser focused on when he got out, he wanted to buy a mobile home to get his family back together again. So, you know, so we started thinking, what can we do to help him? He's a good employee, good person. So I called my friend, Mr. Reginald Afwani in beautification to brainstorm with him to see what we could do to help him. So Reginald said that if Elijah passed the written portion of his CDL, his commercial driver's license, he would qualify for an OPS position in beautification, and then they could help him pass the driving portion of it. But Elijah, he was good with this, but he wasn't sure about the test. He wasn't sure if he was going to pass the test. But one of the ladies from the Ladies Association, the Golf Association, Diane Ferguson, volunteered to tutor him. So they met on Fridays at noon for 6 weeks. And so after 6 weeks were over, Elijah went to take the test, and he didn't pass. So they got back together and they studied some more. And the second time, Di went with him, and she could see him at the computer screen. His back is to her, and they get the results right after they're done with the test. So she sees him taking the test, and he gets up and he looks at her, and he didn't pass. So they study again, and she knows he knows the content. She goes back to the DMV with him. She's sitting there watching him taking the test. He stands up and looks at her, and she said it was electric. He had a big old smile on his face because he passed the test. So he applied for the position. He got the OPS position for beautification, and about a year later, he was able to pass the driving portion. And here we are in 21, and this is Elijah Vickers. He's now a full-time employee with the city. And he's such a great inspiration, I feel like. But just to say, you know, we have a lot of the guys that come through the golf course, and Matt Chasen and Jason Stewart, our foreman, they have a lot of hands-on, and they do a lot with these guys and help them. But you know, it's not about one person or one department. It's Michelle Hill and Shell Bozeman in Underground helping Sherrod Bateman sign up for computer tutor classes. It's Spencer Bowen at facilities, showing Tiant DeWitt the ropes, Terry Nitty teaching Travis Jones HVAC, and Charles Johnson, my favorite, saying, you know, we got to help these guys, and he works with them so they can find jobs at places like Nice Tires. So it's all the departments leaning together that make an Elijah Vickers. And one of my other favorite things about Elijah, he texted me a couple months ago, and he said he was so thankful for the city for helping him get his family back together, because he did buy that mobile home. And in December, they adopted a family for Christmas from Hope House. So that to me is wonderful. It's a great success story. But I'm going to turn it over now to Buddy Driggers. I can figure out how to stop sharing this. Oops. And Buddy's going to talk about the program. So I really wanted him to talk because Buddy's been with the program since the beginning, and he's got a servant's heart. Buddy.
Good afternoon. Thank you guys for the opportunity to shine a little light on the reentry program between the City of Tallahassee and the Department of Corrections. As Mr. Manager, City Manager mentioned earlier, we've done this for quite some time. We've had about 500 participants go through the program thus far. And as you could imagine, in the very beginning, there was some degree of apprehension about bringing incarcerated individuals into the workforce and to work side by side with them. And people voiced their concerns, and we addressed them up front. And astonishingly enough, as time went on, we began to replace that apprehension with concern and compassion and appreciation for what these men were facing in their future. It's amazing at some of the circumstances that surround how they got where they are. And not only do we focus on providing on-the-job training, we want to enhance their opportunities for success once they get released from the DOC. And one of the ways that we've done that is when I say we, I mean the city as a whole. We've implemented some commercial driver's license training, forklift and equipment certification and training, basic finance training. That one would be amazing. You would be amazed at that, just the basic finances and how easily money can get you into trouble, or the lack of understanding of interest rates and such as that. They're really interested in learning about those things. And we've also been providing resume writing skills and mock interview preparations to go along for these young men after they get out and try to reacclimate. One of the person that you see on your screen now is Mr. Orlando Thompson. He is currently in the program. We've got such high expectations for Orlando. He's demonstrated lots of things for us. I mean, his will to succeed is unbelievable. His desire to learn and retain has been exemplary. And he came here in the very beginning with the sole purpose. He said, I want to succeed, I want to be successful, and I want to get a job. Orlando, just a little backdrop on him is Orlando was incarcerated when he was 18 years old, and he's been in the system now for 10 years. And he's 28, of course. And I just wanted to emphasize, just imagine yourself in that situation where you have been incarcerated since you were right out of high school. The amount of job skills and job training that you would take into the workforce would be non-existent. So we're grateful for the opportunity to provide that for this particular young man, and we got high hopes for him. And I know Mr. Gove will be fully aware of who this is. This is Mr. Dwayne Holloman. This is my everyday coworker right here. Dwayne was one of the first participants to come through the program. And Dwayne, that smile you see on his face on the screen there is what you see all day, every day. He got his CDLs. He's done everything here at the golf course. He's the go-to guy. He is currently serving as his job position now is the small engine mechanic for both golf courses, both Holloman and Gaither. And we think the world of Dwayne. And just to show what the significance of this job and this training and this opportunity can mean to people, I wanted you to meet today Javante and Azaria Holloman. This is Mr. Dwayne's grandchildren here. And those grandchildren have been the direct recipient of Dwayne being employed with the city since 2012, since he got out of the program. And they're in full custody. He has full custody. He and his wife have full custody of these grandchildren. And he would be the first to tell you what it's meant to him and to those children to have this opportunity. And he greatly appreciates the city as I do as well. And with that concludes our portion of the presentation today. And of course, we're available for any questions you might have or comments. I'll be happy to turn it over to Jan for that.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that incredible presentation. Jan, you and your team are absolutely dynamic. The program is working, and the golf courses look great, by the way. Thank you for everything that you do for the city of Tallahassee. We certainly do appreciate it. Y'all keep up the great work. Colleagues, this is not an action item, but we'll open it up for comments and discussion.
Yeah, just very briefly,
Commissioner
Mayor, two issues. One, I want to commend the city manager of course, for his leadership, but certainly the staff in establishing this reentry program. We've seen that it can be successful. It is successful. It gives these young men, and one of my questions that I'm driving towards is, do we have any women in the program? And is it available for females who have come back into the community? And you can answer that in just a second. But certainly we've shown that this program is successful. What it has done to turn around the lives of the young men who have come through the program and the positive impact that it has had on their families. And they can serve as role models for others who, for whatever reason, fell on some hard times and found themselves in the system. Certainly our goal is to make sure that these young people never enter that system. But if they do and when they do, that we have something available for them to give them that new start in life. Secondly, I want to certainly commend the staff for the work that they have done at both of our golf courses, but particularly Jake Gaither. When I first came to the commission, the Golf Association at Gaither, the Neighborhood Association complained, and I lived not far from the Gaither neighborhood, and so I knew personally the issues that existed at the Jake Gaither Golf Course. It was not very well maintained at the time. There were a lot of flooding issues on the back holes, and when it would rain, the golfers couldn't play the entire 9 holes at Gaither because of the flooding, not only on the golf course, but in the neighborhood. And so I began to advocate for improvements to that course back then, and today here we are. A course that we all can be proud of. Certainly the neighborhood is proud of it, and we are certainly hoping that we are listed on that historic registry. I know that Coach Gaither is looking down just as proud as he can be that this golf course named after him now has the kind of prominence that it should have had bearing his name. And so I'm sure that the Neighborhood Association and all of those associated with the golf course will be proud of the improvements that have been made. I've watched those improvements over the years, and again, certainly want to thank staff for all that they've done to make this happen. So thank you, Mr. City Manager, and thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Commissioner, on the question related to, are females also qualified? This particular program is with the Department of Corrections out of their Spring Hill Road facility.
Oh, okay.
And is limited to males, but I think that's a great point, great question, because we've demonstrated that this works.
Yes.
And I think that's probably a good challenge for us. I'm going to look to Mr. Driggers just to make sure I'm saying it right and see if we've explored the opportunity. Buddy, can you add any more to what I said?
Yes, sir. There is one privately run institution in town, and they refer to it as the Shisha House. It is also under the jurisdiction of the Work Release Center that you see off of Spring Hill Road. But it's coordinated privately, but that is all females there. There's not as many. The bunk space is a lot less. It's actually a house that they've transferred over, but there are some available. Yes, sir.
We will explore. That's a great point, sir.
Okay. Yeah, Sisha is located on Virginia Street, as a matter of fact. It was started by a very good friend of mine named Barbara Greddington, who still lives here in Tallahassee. But she started the Shisha House at least a decade or so ago. And it is, in fact, for females who are re-entering the community.
Any other further comment? Commissioner Williams-Cox.
I wanted to also add to the accolades of this program. I'm sitting here smiling under my mask at the success. Jen, you're in my heart, because Jen does not turn a challenge away. Who knew that through golf you could have such an impact in the community? And so I applaud your efforts, you and your team, and all the teams here in the city of Tallahassee, to look at the opportunity to give people another chance. I am especially happy when I see folks who are able to get back into the workforce and get housing and get services and be able to bring their families back together. I thought that that was just a very heartwarming and touching piece that gave the gentleman the motivation to bring his family back together. So that's to me, that's a lifetime story. One day, I'm sure we have some local writers who we can write that story perhaps, Jan, one day, along with many others. And then for the other gentleman as well in this program, and for the grandfather, you know, being a grandmother myself, we know that we will go to the ends of the earth to make sure that our grandchildren are good. We love our children, but, you know, if I could have gotten to my grandchildren without going through my children, I would have done so, because those are my heartbeats. And so it just makes my heart smile to see that that grandfather was able to turn his life around and be able to provide a better future for his grandchildren. And so I think that what this program and many others, Tempo and others that the city and others are doing to help returning citizens gain their footing and become productive citizens is worth noting and saying thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm especially, when it comes to making sure people don't get into homelessness, or if they do, want to make sure, and I got to say it right, Abena, we got to make sure that it is rare and non-reoccurring. And I think that this program does that by making sure people get into the workforce so that they're able to afford a living and to live in a home. And there's nothing wrong with living in a mobile home if that's where you need to be. I lived in a mobile home. So there's nothing wrong with it. A mobile home is a home. And as someone said to me one time, that their child told them that I'm living in a place that has wheels. So even if your house has wheels, it's still a house, and you can turn that into a home. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Excellent. Any further comment?
I just want to say, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say thank you, Jan, thank you to your team, and I'm rooting for Jake Gaither, and if there's anything that I can do or we can do to help that designation, please let us know.
Excellent. Thank you. No action needed on this item. We're on 13.03. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're seeking your approval to authorize the pursuit of a grant for our Star Metro system. This would be the 2021 Low or No Emissions Grant Program, often referred to as LOW-NO. We have been successful in the past, and I believe we are well poised. I would say we have a decent shot at being successful. The total grant that is available is $180 million across transit agencies in the United States, and it is for the purchase of low or no emission vehicles. And as you know, with your direction, we're aggressively pursuing a renewable strategy that includes the conversion of our vehicle fleet to electric. And surprisingly, we are the farthest along with our buses. I would think that would be counterintuitive. It would be easier to do light-duty vehicles. We have now converted 25% of our buses to electric, and this proposal would convert an additional 6 and include related charging equipment and necessary upgrades at the future South City Transit Center. The total grant we would be seeking is approximately $8.9 million. I would like Angela Baldwin, who's joining us via WebEx, she's our director of Star Metro, to just give a little more overview of this one, but I do believe we're well poised for it, and at the conclusion, we're seeking your approval to pursue this grant. Angela?
Thank you, City Manager, Mayor, and Commissioners. I'll be brief in providing a few details for this item. Give me a moment to share my screen. As the manager mentioned earlier, Star Metro is seeking commission approval to apply for the FTA Low or No Emissions Grant in the amount of $8.9 million to acquire 6 battery electric buses and related vehicle charging equipment for each bus, and funding for sustainable amenities such as charging infrastructure. The FTA Low-No program is extremely competitive and provides funding to state and local government authorities, for the purchase of zero-emission transit buses, as well as the acquisition and construction of much-needed infrastructure. 75% of Star Metro's active diesel-fueled fixed-route fleet currently meets replacement criteria based on several industry factors. This low-no grant, if received, will allow Star Metro to replace up to 6 of the 36 diesel buses with zero-emission battery electric buses. If awarded, 38% of our fleet will be electric, which keeps us on track for meeting the city's 2035 goal. This is a part of a larger replacement plan that aligns with Star Metro's FTA-compliant Transit Asset Management Plan and the city's Clean Energy Plan. The receipt and expenditure of this grant award aligns with the city's strategic plan and applicable objective to increase annual grant awards by 5%. Lastly, Star Metro applies for this grant annually. The last low-no awarded to us was in 2017. This year is the most comprehensive application yet, including infrastructure needs for servicing the growing zero-emission fleet. And with that, we're excited and we're hopeful about this grant opportunity. And thank you. This concludes my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Excellent. Recommended action is option number 1.
So moved.
Been properly moved by Commissioner Williams-Cox, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. Seeing no further comment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, passes unanimously 5-0. We're on item number 13.04. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we leave that item, let me also recognize Jason Lawrence. He's doing good work in Star Metro. You'll remember him. He was instrumental in these efforts. 1304 also involves the acceptance of grant funds for Star Metro. This is a little more routine, as it involves the standard allocation methods related to the federal 5307 and 5310 processes. In total, we're seeking to accept about $3.8 million in grants. These are CARES Act-related funds. They require no local match, and we're seeking your authority to accept these dollars. Angela Baldwin is also here to answer questions on this item.
Excellent. Recommended option is option number 1. Is there?
So moved.
Been properly moved by Commissioner Williams-Cox, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. Any further comment? Commissioner
Mayor,
Richardson.
You know, I just wanted to point out to our local citizenry and especially our taxpayers what this does for us as a community. Because without us pursuing these grant funds in the millions of dollars, those are projects that we would have to fund out of our general revenue fund. I mean, right now, we're supplementing the Star Metro operations from general revenue, but that could be even more if we were not aggressively pursuing and being awarded these grants. So I just wanted to point that out to those that are here today and those that are listening virtually, that this is saving our community and benefiting our community to the tune of millions of dollars. And we should, again, compliment the manager and his staff, Angela at Star Metro, for what they're doing in this regard.
Agree.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Motion's been properly made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, passes unanimously 5-0. We're on item number 13.05. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, sir. Let me recognize Christian Doolin, our Director of Strategic Innovation. He's joined by Kirk Pepper with Gray Robinson, which is our lobbying group, and they've been very, very busy working both at the state level and federally. And I think it's, I'm glad that we have them on board, especially with the very dynamic times we have. So we have a brief update. We've shared weekly a very thorough update in terms of where we stand legislatively and also matters coming from the federal government. So I'm going to turn it over to Christian for a brief update as we stand today.
Thank you, Manager, Mayor, Commission. We're in week 6 of the 9-week session, and as in prior years, our focus has been really pointed on the appropriations requests in line with our strategic priorities. So to that end, we've had 3 requests, as you've seen in the updates. The state aviation complex, new hangar out of the airport, new pump station 12, and funding for Tempo. Right now, Tempo is funded in the Senate budget for $250,000. Want to thank our local legislative delegation, Representatives Tant, Alexander Schoaf, as well as Senator Ausley, for all of their support. And then broadly, there have been fewer meetings this session, certainly this week and in the following weeks. And compared to past sessions, there are fewer bills moving right now. The budget outlook is looking better than previously published. Some of that's due to the contemplation of the American Rescue Plan federal funding coming into the state budget. And on that end, on the federal level, we're expecting a lot of funding through the American Rescue Plan. Right now, that's in the hands of the U.S. Treasury, which is focused on the impact payments and distributing those. In addition, they're going to be clarifying rules for distributing the federal money in the plan, and that could be coming to us in May or June timeline. We're going to have a lot more detail on that in 2 weeks at the budget workshop. And then finally, we're also keenly engaged at the federal level for what the president put forward last week in terms of the infrastructure bill. That'll be another $2.25 trillion, and we'll be actively engaged to figure out how that will be impacting us. And we've had ongoing conversations with both the rescue plan and the jobs plan with the county to make sure we're kind of coordinated there to maximum effect locally. I'll end there and turn it over for any questions you might have.
Excellent. This item does not require any action. It is simply an information item. Are there any questions or discussion? Commissioner Porter, you're recognized, and Commissioner Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are there any representatives from Gray Robinson tonight?
Yes, there are. The manager mentioned they're
I believe
online.
Kirk has joined us via WebEx, is that right?
That's right.
Okay. Have we been receiving the periodic reports, the weekly reports during session from Gray Robinson? I was looking at the bid and some of the items. Do we have those?
Yes, and the content is identical to the content you've been getting in the weekly reports over.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple things. One is, has David been a part of the presentations? Mr. Ash, who is our minority vendor that's working with Gray Robinson as our lobbyist, has he been a part of developing those presentations? I just want to make sure he's actively involved in that effort as well.
Yes, sir, and Kirk could give you another layer of detail down, and my understanding is David is actively involved, particularly with federal conversations, in engaging Representative Lawson's office as well as Representative Dunn, and particularly, again, on the federal level, Mr. Ash has been engaged.
Perfect. And Christian, could you tell us kind of where we are with the number of local preemption bills that we had been hearing about? Are those moving? Are there any that we need to now, as session comes to an end, start to pay more attention to and maybe be involved with as a commission?
Sure. So, our general, as you know, our general posture is to be focused on the appropriations, and then unless otherwise directed by you, we're engaging through the league. Our Gray Robinson is also partnered with the league, so they're actively engaged on all of the preemption bills, and certainly our posture is aligned with the leagues in terms of any given specific bill. And if I'll take the manager's direction in terms of where we want to dive in, but in general, we've kind of been relied on Kirk and the Gray Robinson team and the league in terms of our active engagement on any given specific bill.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, can I add to that? Commissioner, along those lines, the Florida League of Cities is doing an outstanding job advocating for cities, especially home rule, and thus far have been in my estimation, relatively successful in at least managing some of the bills to where they work for local governments. But I do believe we're probably at that time where we'll see if things have legs, if they're actually going to go, and we'll keep you informed of that. Okay. Some could be concerning, but I do feel relatively good that the league on our behalf and our sister cities' behalf and local governments has been somewhat successful so far.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Christian.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Williams-Cox.
I was going to say that something very similar to that, Mr. City Manager, because being involved with the League of Cities, we actually get weekly, there are weekly calls that you could participate in to hear where things are. And the league they do an outstanding job of protecting home rule and making sure that the 412 cities and towns are covered. So we're in great company. It's better to be a part of 412 than to be out there by yourself. I encourage us to continue to follow the lead of the League of Cities and get involved. And I'm on one of the legislative committees with them as well, and as well as being a member of the Florida Black Caucus locally elected officials as well, to make sure that we, the City of Tallahassee, are engaged and involved in the things that they do. And I also attend the annual conference and serve on the nominating committee to help select the leadership for the Florida League of Cities. So that's my commercial for working with the League of Cities. They know what they're doing, and there's no need to recreate the wheel if the wheel has already been created. Just get on and ride. And that's what I encourage us to do.
Any further comment? Thank you so much, Christian. You and your team are doing a tremendous job. We appreciate it. Mr. Manager, we are now on item number 13.06, please.
Thank you, sir. This item, the commission asked for a return of a discussion related to a holiday during the general election every 2 years. This item seeks your direction regarding the inclusion of Election Day as an official employee holiday for the city of Tallahassee. Of course, we know the general election day is observed in even-numbered years. Many states have, in fact, declared Election Day as a civic holiday, which is intended to boost civic participation in elections and reflect and signal the priority of such. Various provisions allow employees currently here and elsewhere to take time, to flex time to vote. The city's current practice is not a policy, it is a practice, is to allow employees to utilize personal or compensatory leave to vote if they're unable to vote outside of regular working hours, and supervisors can authorize the use of leave. In fact, that practice has been in place for many, many years. I understood it to be a policy. It's been in place that long. So we do have prioritization toward that end. Then this item seeks your direction on creating a holiday for Election Day. Ellen Blair, our HR director, is here if you have any questions on this matter. We certainly look forward to your direction.
Excellent. And then there was 3. So, go ahead, Commissioner Williams-Cox.
No, I was just chuckling. Commissioner Matlow is online.
Commissioner Matlow, you are still with us, correct?
Mr. Mayor, I'm still here.
Excellent, wonderful. I asked for this item to come back, so I'll go ahead and tee it off. And I appreciate the consideration and look forward to the discussion today. You know, like you, I've been watching across the country a lot of the voter suppression efforts that have been taking place in other states and other communities. And I was thinking, in our country, voting is a right, and it is a human right. And this is something that we have been concentrating on in our community, and in particular, I've been concentrating on as your mayor. And I think that we have the opportunity to set the example. Now, let me be clear, this is not a city-wide holiday. This would be particularly with the City of Tallahassee employees. Obviously, it's every other year, and it's one day. And I am very well aware that we provide many opportunities for people to vote, early voting, mail-in ballots. I understand that we provide opportunities as well, you know, for hours to be, you can use your flex time to go vote. But when I sit back and I see that the Brennan Institute, the Center for Justice, as of March 24th, based out of D.C., they are tracking voter suppression bills, including some that have been filed right here in the state of Florida. There are actually over 360 bills of such limiting people's right to vote. I just think we have a unique opportunity to be the shining example and to declare, as have other communities across the United States, Election Day, General Election Day, as a voting holiday for the city of Tallahassee. With that, I'll open it up for discussion and comment. Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, I love the spirit of what you're doing, because we do need to send a message that voter suppression, as the kids would say, is not cool.
Correct.
And you're right, the bills have been filed, not just here in the state of Florida, but right across the street here in Tallahassee. These bills have been filed. When you get to the point where you're not able to hand someone water because they're standing in a long line that was created because of voter suppression, that becomes personal. It's not just about politics, then it's personal. I do have a question because I am aware, and I would support a holiday, but I would also want to look at something just a little bit differently. I understand the city has a policy or has a program for fitness where they allow employees to, well, Mr. City Manager, you know it better than I do, the fitness program that you currently have in place for people who use it, they get credit for it, and I'm wondering if we could do something very similar to that in this case, because what we want to make sure of is that people do go vote. You know, we can grant a holiday, but if they're not voting, they're not actively doing something with it. And I know all of the employees of City of Tallahassee would do that, but I'm just saying, if there is a way to accomplish this and perhaps to model a program that we already have in place. If not, I will fully support the holiday.
Would Ellen Blair or Mr. Manager or
I can
Madam
handle-
Attorney like
I
to
can
address that? Yeah.
handle at least just so what Commissioner Williams-Cox is referring to is we have a health incentive program for employees that they can earn paid time off by doing certain things like getting a physical, getting an eye exam. We encourage healthiness, obviously not related to this, but it is certainly a model of incentive. And for each activity, you can earn up to 2 hours of leave off. It is on an honor system, so you indicate, I went and I got a physical. Obviously, your health is very private. It works extremely well, and that's for the employee's benefit and the organization's benefit. I think that certainly could fit in this case because we know people are voting in different ways to also encourage. My guess is you would apply it to any election, right? So any numerous. We do it well, it works well, and in fact has encouraged, in that case, healthy action. So that is a good model. I think it's a good example, Commissioner.
And in that way, we're not restricting them to just vote on that day. You know, I vote from the House. So those who vote from the House will also get credit for having voted. Those who vote early will also get credit for voting and be able to use that time another way. In that way, we're encouraging you to vote in any method, in any way that you want to, and receive an incentive for doing so. When I was a professor at Florida A&M, I would always give my students extra credit if they came to my class with the I voted sticker. Again, it was on the honor system. You know, I was hoping that they actually did vote, and I did give them credit for it. So you provide incentives for people to vote instead of providing suppression to prevent them from voting, but use all methods available and give credit for using any of those methods and not just restricting them to just one day.
Good idea. Commissioner Porter?
I support making this a paid day off for city employees. My one concern is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if you might know this, Madam Attorney, incentivizing voting, at least in federal elections, is illegal.
I'm not prepared to give an opinion on that this evening, but I certainly can review it.
Okay. Comment, discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Mr. Mayor?
Commissioner Matlow.
Oh, Commissioner Matlow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, you know, I think I could support the paid holiday. I think that's clean, and I think it also sends a message to other governments, to other private employers that you know, we're leading the way on getting access to vote. I think we're fortunate at the City of Tallahassee. I know, you know, in other industries where people are working 60, 70, 80 hours a week and they don't get paid time off and those sorts of things. We certainly want to encourage them to allow their employees to get off to vote. But I think it would send a very good signal to just make it a paid holiday for city employees.
Any other comment? Commissioner
Well, Mr.
Richardson.
Mayor, I would make a motion that we bring back an agenda item to adopt a paid holiday on federal election day.
So from a process standpoint, do we need to bring back the agenda item for full ratification, or can we ratify it tonight?
Well, I think what we could do is if you wanted to ratify it tonight, you could with the contingency that we find nothing illegal in the declaring of the holiday.
Not for a paid holiday.
I'm sorry.
You think a paid holiday would make it illegal?
I have never heard that, but I would like to at least have an opportunity to research what the commissioner has indicated. But I think you could pass it subject to that.
I think we're talking about two different things.
Yeah, I was referring
The
to more
motion
of
on
an
the table
incentive program.
is what the item is brought back, which is a paid holiday,
Right,
not the incentive program,
okay.
just the paid holiday.
Just the paid holiday.
Correct.
And your question,
Was about more of an incentive program.
as opposed to just the
Yes.
outright payment? Well, I think it would be fine if you passed it tonight. Depends on which one you want to do. If it's the incentive program, then I would have to do some legal research. If it's the outright payment, you could go ahead and do it this evening.
The motion on the table, I believe Commissioner Matlow, and correct me if I am wrong, is for a paid holiday as it was presented.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. And if we don't have to have that brought back, then I would alter the motion to just go ahead and make it a paid holiday.
Excellent. I will second the motion as well. Any further comment?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir. Commissioner
You know,
Richardson.
I don't have a strong position one way or the other, but I think that what we are trying to incentivize or encourage is people to participate in the process. I think there are a number of opportunities for people to participate, the 2 weeks of early voting, the vote by mail, the entire day, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on election day. And I think that, you know, if people are really interested in voting, and I would certainly hope that they would be, that they could find time during all of those opportunities to do that. And I say that to say this, I think I would more support what Commissioner Williams-Cox is proposing, because I think that more encourages people to be involved in that process. I don't know, I mean, if somebody votes on the first day of early voting and then they get a holiday on election day, that really has not encouraged them to participate, or given them the opportunity to participate. But I think what Commissioner Williams-Cox is proposing is something that, if we can do it, and the attorney said she's going to look into that, it gives them more, it's an incentive for them to participate, rather than just, you know, whether I vote or not, I'm going to get the day off from work. And so that's the way I would tend to be inclined to support, rather than just a holiday.
Understood.
Without any kind of incentive for actually participate.
Understood. Any other comment? Any other questions?
I have a
Commissioner
question.
Williams-Cox.
Looking at, there are those who won't be able to take the day off
Right.
because of the services that they have to provide. So what would we do for those individuals? Would they get another day, or how would we deal with that?
Police, fire, utilities.
As it relates to those that would, and there are numerous functions that just are simply going to have to work, our electric control center, public safety, there are a variety of things that never stop. Now, normally they will get that holiday equivalent at some later date. It just depends on their work schedule. And so they would, I can't quantify it, I can't tell you exactly how many people that is, but it is more than a few that would have to work, and they would get that time off at a later date. Mr. Mayor, I would, and it may be separate, and of course the motions But we do have a practice that probably should be codified in policy, and maybe that policy should be reviewed, kind of reflect how things work today in terms of providing people ample time off to vote. And that would probably cure any issue related to people that had to work even during a holiday. I'd just offer that, if, you know, for discussion, if that helps.
Okay, so the maker of the motion, you've heard a lot of comment. Do you want to have your motion stand firm or pull the motion and have more discussion, or give me some direction, Commissioner Matlow?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I mean, I'm comfortable with it. I understand where you're coming from, Commissioner Richardson, but I think it's the time off the vote, but it's also the signal of, oh, why am I off today? Oh yeah, that's election day. It's just such a great reminder. And as you know, you said, you kind of see this trending across the country. You know, I think, you know, one day, election day, should be a day off at the federal level. So I'm happy to move forward with it. As far as, I guess, just an update, Mr. City Manager. I mean, I guess the same way we do other, you know, holidays, Christmas and New Year's, that the general body gets, how those work out for other employees, if they would be able to transfer that time off to an early voting day and that sort of thing, just or any day that they chose. But I'm comfortable with the motion.
Okay. Commissioner Porter for comment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to say I am 100% in support of this. I think this is a great idea. I think I understand the concerns. Another point I wanted to bring up is just voting election day is a lot more about just voting too. This gives people the opportunity to give rides to the polls and be involved in other ways on election day. So I think it's a great thing, and I look forward to supporting it.
Any further comment? Motion on the table made by Commissioner Matlow, seconded by myself, the mayor, to make Election Day a holiday for city employees. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And it passes unanimously, 5-0. We are on item number 13.07. And thank you, colleagues. And I understand your concerns as well. Okay, Mr. Treasurer Clerk, are you going to tee this one up for us?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Commissioners, in the sharing of ideas portion of your last meeting, you had some discussion of staffing of the City Commission office and directed us to bring the topic back for discussion. City Commission Policy 130 is titled Structure and Management of City Commission Office Staff, so it's obviously the appropriate policy. That policy is attached to your agenda item. It's a brief agenda item, but just a couple of items I'll point out and then turn it to you. The policy was established in 1994. The City Commission had made some changes over time to that, and they were automatically incorporated into the policy. But the policy itself hadn't been edited and revised, updated to incorporate those for many years. But in November of 2019, the City Commission did specifically review and revise and approve the updated policy. That included the changes since 1994, such as having a dedicated aide for each city commissioner and to reflect the current staffing and structure. So that's sort of the background of that policy, and with that, I'll give it back to you for discussion.
Excellent. Madam Attorney, Mr. Manager, any comment on this before we jump in?
No, sir.
Just out of curiosity, how come, specifically with interns, how come it was never proposed just to follow the HR intern policy and have everything run through HR with one intern per office, like the rest of the city?
Mayor, I'll let others chime in, but I think that's an item that just simply wasn't contemplated. So the policy was put together, and as it was updated, was to identify, here are the positions that we have in the City Commission office, and provide the directions for supervision, evaluation, discipline, whatnot, for each of those. And those, there was simply, I think, a sentence on temporary staff, but no specific contemplation of an internship program in there. The city does have an intern program, and different departments, I think, participate in that in different ways, or different levels of involvement.
Before I turn it over to Commissioner Porter, because this was her item, Ms. Blair, I'm assuming you could just absorb our interns as part of the official intern process moving forward, correct? Excellent. All right, Commissioner Porter, this is your item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just, I think that it's important that our offices are, that we are accountable for our offices as individually elected officials. I talked a little bit at our last meeting about the issue, complications that I think arise when we're involving other offices and potential sunshine issues between offices. So really, all I would like to see would be to bring back an item that would clarify this policy to say that city commissioners, and whatever language we want to use, but that city commissioners are solely responsible for the administration of their offices, staff, and budget. And staff to include, whether explicitly or not, interns, because a lot of the hang-up has been between what the temporary staff means and how we interpret that. And I've spoken to 3 different appointed officials, and I got 3 different answers about what that meant. So I would just like to see that clarity in this policy.
I understand. Comment? If you would like to bring an item back ratifying our autonomy, I'm cool with that. In 2019, 4 of the 5 of us already addressed this policy. In my mind, the autonomy is quite clear in section 130.06D, 130.07C, 130.08C, 130.09C, 130.10B. In particular, when we talk about the hiring and firing of aides, and I understand where you are coming from, and it is important that we have complete and total autonomy. For instance, when we look at the hiring of staff, it is specifically stated in policy 130 that each aide has complete hiring and firing capabilities of their aide. And I support that. I think we all support that. Absolutely. And again, the process is structured in 130, both .06, 07, 08, 09, and 10. Everything from hiring, firing, but also evaluations and the whole 9 yards. Where I do agree with you is it is unclear, because we never codified it, in regards to internships. And I think that's caused a little bit of stress. So what I am suggesting is that we just follow the City of Tallahassee HR policy on internships. We do everything up in our offices, just like every other department at City of Tallahassee. We limit 1 intern per office, 1 intern for the administrative out front, and all of the administrative work. I'm not involved. Y'all aren't involved, except for with your own office. We work directly with HR like every other department. So that's just an idea and a suggestion to put on the table. Commissioner Porter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My understanding from learning about this process is that we did go through HR and through an HR process. We went, in fact, all the way through the HR process where an offer letter was made and then rejected by another office in the commission and not by HR. So, my understanding is that we're going through the HR process. This is not something that, individual commissioners are operating single-handedly. So I don't know, Ms. Blair, my understanding is that we're already doing that, and I'm not sure what that would change.
Well, it would change a lot, because what we would do is today codify 1 intern per office and make it a paid internship, of course, 1 intern per office, including my office as well, and completely and totally follow the HR policies in regards to the intern policy. Yeah, so Commissioner, where the hang-up came is somehow it came up, and it's never been an issue before. That's why it caught us all off guard. And that's why I'm suggesting we just move everything over to HR, is take my office out of it. Somehow, buried deep, there was language that says that we have to sign off on interns. Well, it's never been an issue. The issue came with the request of When we hit number 4 intern, signing off, it became, okay, what are we doing security-wise, COVID protocol, what are we doing with space? So we had to hit the pause button to figure out how we're moving forward. I am requesting respectfully to be taken out of that position and have HR handle everything, and let's be crystal clear and establish a 1 intern per office policy, including my own, and 1 intern out at the front as well. Simply that. Commissioner Williams-Cox, you have your hand raised to speak?
No, I was moving my hair.
Oh, okay. Commissioner Porter.
Well, I guess I feel like we should not be restricting any individual commissioner about how they want to spend their time or resources. We talk a lot about investing in younger generations, investing in, trying to combat the brain drain. I don't see how, if one office wants to hire unpaid interns, why that can't be something that's just worked out. I'm not comfortable with the idea of any policy that's limiting a commissioner's office quite like that when that's not been the case. That's something, quite frankly, I would have been happy to resolve with your office and was not really given that opportunity because of different sunshine questions about this policy.
Correct.
Which is why I think we all agree that that needs to be taken care of one way or another. I think that the interns have all different, and this is not a discussion about, interns and pedagogy, but at the same time, I don't really feel, I think that interns and that internship opportunity for students is an incredible resource to them. And there's a lot of different ways that we can be commissioner and we can spend our time, and that's why we're accountable to the people. And I feel, I would just not be comfortable supporting a policy that restricts how other commissioners spend their time and run their offices. So I feel like if we just eliminate that conflict, then that can be resolved in other ways. I understand there are concerns about COVID or space. That was something that we had resolved. We have interns working from home and interns who are unpaid. So, that's sort of my position. I wouldn't support getting involved in other people's offices, and I would hope that no one would get involved in mine.
Commissioners, like to weigh in?
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Matlow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I have 2 interns this year. I think in a previous year, we might have used 3, and I think the students got a lot of value of it. We were able to break them into different tasks, if it's community outreach or digging into specific items. And I think that opportunity is invaluable to the interns. I recognize the point you just made about space. So I think that may need to be addressed of how many interns can come in and work at the same time. And I think that could probably be worked out due to COVID. We've been, most of the internships have not been coming in. They've been able to work from home and that sort of thing. So I think the issue to me is if the same way we work with HR to hire our aide, I think our internal offices should probably just follow a similar process as long as it's within the budget of our individual office. If a commissioner wanted to do a paid internship in lieu of using their travel portion of their budget, I don't think we need to get into the nitty-gritty of how different commission offices operate. But I think if there are challenges that have come up, such as spacing, I think we should have that conversation and really just find out what the issues are and address them directly. Because I think some years I might have 0 interns, some years I might have 2. I don't think we should limit ourselves or future commissions. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Richardson.
I guess my concern would be that if we have an unlimited number of interns, there are issues of entry and exit from the building, access to the building. and information in the building. There is issues about our technology and individuals that are not employees of the city having access to our system and the information that's in that system. So there are some very serious concerns there if we're talking about an unlimited number of student interns with access to that kind of information and to the building. So that would be my concern with having, you know, an unlimited number of interns and those interns working from home and still having access to the city's IT system. I have a concern there.
Commissioner Williams-Cox.
To be honest with you, I had an intern last year, and it worked out really well. My office, we are so busy in our office that I cannot manage more than one. We decided not to even have one this time because my workload is such that I don't have the time to manage more than, you know, and of course, Dr. Davis, she works hand in hand with me, but we are just busy doing what we do to manage more than one intern. So I'm okay with one. I'm not trying to dictate to anybody else how many you have, but I don't think with the workload that we have, I think I read that it's supposed to be commensurate with the workload. The workload that I have, my personal workload, I cannot manage more than one intern. And I appreciate it. I served as an intern at General Motors, as a matter of fact, when I was in college. So I understand the value of internship. But management of those interns is my concern because I'm trying to manage meeting with my constituents and being where I need to be and doing what I need to do, so much so that, you know, this is what I do all day. You know, I'm a city commissioner all day, except for, you know, I have to make a sandwich or something at the house. But I cannot manage more than one intern. Well, let me say, I choose not to manage more than one intern because at some point you get to the point of diminishing returns. If I'm busy managing interns, then I can't meet with my residents, my constituents. I can't, you know, it's going to cut the service that I'm trying to provide, in my opinion, because I've got to, I'm responsible no matter who does it. I am the commissioner. And so if I got a lot of interns out there doing things that I don't know what they're doing, and I'm not saying that anyone else will be doing that, I can't do it because I know whatever my intern does is a reflection on me. And so I for one, I'm good with one when I have one. Right now I have 0.
Correct. Commissioner Porter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, honestly, my feelings are kind of hurt right now, the way that I feel like people are talking about the way that I would use my office resources and run my office. I feel like we are all individually elected to make decisions that we think are best for the public. I've got a great relationship with my aide who manages the interns. I think they're getting a lot out of this experience. They're here today. They go through the HR process. There are background checks. These are not people who are, you know, in our high security systems. This is City Hall. It should be accessible to the people and the public. Any insinuation that I'm letting interns run amok, you know, through the halls, it hurts my feelings. I feel like they're and my point is not that anyone else needs to change the way they run their offices. I understand that, but that I would like the right that I believe was given to me by the voters in Tallahassee who voted me here to run my office the way I want to. You know, I honestly have not that much interaction with my interns. They might want to see me more. That is the way that our relationship in my office works. You know, so that's just how I feel about it. I think if we take the whatever HR process that we think is most appropriate, I kind of made a chart just as I was learning through this. We get an email asking, do we want interns? We respond to the email, yes or no. The approval of that goes through the employee engagement manager and then the human resources consultant. We get a list of people who've applied. My office chooses who we want to interview. We interview them. We get them through PeopleSoft. We pick who we want to hire. And then we submit the paperwork to to the City Commission office and to HR, who then approves the ID badges, the background screening, and they are given their weekly hours. They have their schedule to be coordinated. From that point, it goes to the mayor's office, who then approves or denies it with unilateral authority. So that is where I just think the process becomes difficult at that point, and that's really the only piece that I would like to address tonight. And I don't feel like I'm asking for too much.
Thank you, Commissioner Porter. And look, I think I can speak for our colleagues too. Please, nobody is trying to get personal or hurt anybody's feelings. This was your agenda item that you asked to be brought up for discussion. We're just having a discussion. We're just all expressing our own opinions. On top of that, if we could please have a civil discussion amongst the City Commission, that'd be great. I appreciate it. At the same time, I have met your interns. They're wonderful individuals and great students. And I know the Commissioner Matlow just brought 2 on as well. I don't think there's any expectation that these interns, that you're going to have to make a decision with one. We're talking about at the end of this semester, when this particular internship ends, the new policy moving forward. Of course, we want them to fulfill their internship as it is right now. But look, from my perspective, I'm very comfortable, and we do agree. I want to be taken out of the process of having to do the paperwork for all of the office's internships. I don't know how we got to this point, but I really would love for HR to handle all of that. So I do think that that should be part of formal consideration tonight. And me personally, I feel comfortable with 1 intern per office, including my own. Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Matlow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just come back to, as Commissioner Williams-Cox said, she only wants 1, and that's enough. But I know we put in 8 lockers for interns when we did the remodel in the intern area. So I think as long as concerns don't arise and we don't end up with, too many people working at the same time, I'd be comfortable moving forward. So I would make a motion that we bring back policy 130 and just clarify that temporary staff and interns follow the same process as our aides.
There is a motion on the table. Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
There's a second to the motion. All right, let's have a discussion. Commissioner Williams-Cox.
Clarification, please. I need him to say that last part again because they kind of faded out.
Could you restate
Mayor Pro
the
Tem,
motion?
could you restate your motion?
The motion would be that we update policy 130 to just clarify that temporary staff and interns would follow the same process as our individual aides.
As our individual aides. Now, individual aides.
As the policy states right now, it gives autonomy on the individual aide. And, my understanding was the mix-up was on temporary staff, and if that had to go through the mayor's office. So this would just move temporary employees, interns, everything under our individual office. And then if you want to do 1, you can do 1. If you want to do 2, you can do 2. And, I'm happy to, if it seems like problems are arising, address it in the future. I'm just not really seeing what the issue is at this time. Thank you.
So I agree with the motion on the table from the administrative standpoint. This is what I think we all agree with. I do not want to be involved. It is too much time and energy on my team dealing with interns, but I will not support the motion on the table unless a substitute or an amendment is proposed and we actually come to an agreement and codify number of interns per office. It is too much of an issue to leave it open-ended. We are already experiencing security issues right now that we need to tighten up, whether it's through the mainframe or it's through physical access. And so I would feel more comfortable, my own personal opinion, with us coming to terms on a particular number of interns per office, which is how we run the rest of the city of Tallahassee and all of the other offices.
Let me add, Commissioner Porter.
Commissioner Williams-Cox.
Commissioner Porter, how many aides would you like to have for your office? Commissioner Porter in the audience? I mean, Commissioner Porter on the dais?
We have 4 right now, 2 who are paid, 2 who are unpaid, and, you know, I don't even know what to say. I just feel like, of course, I don't want a limited number of interns. I don't want to manage that either. I don't think that's constructive either. I think 1 is too limiting, and you know, I would like to say at least, you know.
I'm just asking you how many you need. I mean, how many you want. I'm just asking for my own. You heard what I said.
I mean, yeah, sure. The other issue here too, though, is that we can all have as many volunteers as we want. You know what I mean? People who want to go knock on doors or do whatever they want to do. So I'm confused about the security issue because these people, you know, these interns, they go through background check and everything else. As far as space, you know, we've got 8 lockers. We've got, I think, a couple, you know, so I just think I'm not comfortable putting a limit. If we are insisting on a limit, then we can talk about that, but I'm not comfortable putting a limit.
The reason I ask you that is I'm trying to lean on what prior commissions have done. That's why I asked that. And I don't know what prior commissioners have done, how many interns they had, if they even had any. I always think that it's good to look back at what your predecessor has done to see if that works for you. If it doesn't, then you do something else. As for me in my office, I'm good with the 1. But I respect your decision to have more than 1. And I mean, that's right now, because I think as we continue to go, and as people come and go, you may find that you might need less. So, you know, I'm just gonna speak for me in my office. We need 1. I mean, we'd like to have up to 1, sometimes 0 like right now.
All right, there is a motion on the table that was made by Commissioner Matlow, that was seconded by Commissioner Porter, that only addresses bringing back, once again, another agenda item dealing specifically with the administrative functions of basically the intern program. Commissioner Williams-Cox.
Point of clarification, we're only talking about interns because I don't want us to get into talking about the common areas being managed.
Correct.
That kind of thing, because, you know, we do need somebody to manage that kind of stuff for us. What Tammy does for us is immeasurable. And without her, I can't have her responsibilities become mine, because they won't get done, and they won't get done well. She does a great job for us. And so I want to make sure that she's going to be there in place, because that's in your office.
Sure.
Right, so I want to make sure that stays in place. Okay.
Excellent. Commissioner Richardson.
Well, I still say that, you know, my issue is access to the building, access to our technology, and that's a legitimate concern. I'm not going to apologize for that, because that's a real concern.
Correct.
You know, who's accessing the building and how, and who's accessing information in our IT system and how. I think it's certainly legitimate for a paid intern to have that kind of access, because they're accountable. And I'm not talking about any of your current aides or who you might hire in the future, any of it. But certainly that's a concern. That happens. That happens all the time. And so that's the issue that I raise. that doesn't address how many interns we're talking about, but that's the issue that I have when you have people that have access to both the building and the information in the building and the IT system. And so we have to maintain some oversight and accountability for that. And I think people working from home, even if that's what's proposed, that raises an issue because they're using their own technology and having to, I'm sure, share a passcode from someone because they're not assigned their own personal passcode. And so those are the two issues that I have.
Commissioner Richardson, Commissioner Williams-Cox, I think the three of us are on the same page. Is there any interest in a substitute motion to go ahead and clarify the administrative functions of the internship program solely being underneath HR, which would remove all of our offices, especially my office, out of the internship program, and codifying one paid intern per office in line with city policy?
And Mr. Mayor, I wouldn't have a problem with even two paid interns.
I can go with two.
I wouldn't have a problem with that at all.
All right, would you like to make that substitute motion?
I would make that as a substitute motion.
Okay, substitute motion for the administrative functions to automatically be moved over to the HR side of the shop with two paid interns per office. I can tell you, we don't need two interns out front. One intern is fine out there, just so that you know. That motion's been made by Commissioner Richardson. I will second that. Commissioner Porter.
Well, I just want to be clear about the security concerns. The interns do not have access to our systems or anything like that. That is something only I have access to, only my aide has access to. It's, I want that to be very, very clear, as well as even unpaid interns also go through a security background check. As far as I know, we have never intervened so much into the running of individual commissioners' offices. So, it's disappointing to me that I feel like my colleagues do not have enough trust or faith in me to run my office and act in a reasonable manner in ensuring the security of our offices and of the city, as well as the constraints regarding, time, space, and any COVID concern.
Commissioner Williams-Cox.
Let me just say, Commissioner Porter, I never said that. I was very specific about speaking about my office. Now, so I'm not trying to run your office. That's why I just asked, how many do you need? So I could try to see if I could try to create some collaboration. Your office is your responsibility, absolutely. I just feel that in my office, because even with two, I'm saying say up to two because I'm just too busy to really manage many more people. But I just want, for that point of clarification, I never, that's your decision, that's your deal. But I will have to support the motion because that suits my office. So I got to think about my office in this aspect of how I need to run my office. So I will have to support it because that's how I'm going to do it. And actually, two is generous because I don't need to, but not currently, but that it could change. And if I could just add, I am just I'm kind of tired of talking about this.
We're going to go ahead and bring this
We got people out here
into a
waiting to talk to us.
And we're going to call for the vote. Motion on the table made by Commissioner Richardson, seconded by myself. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Nay.
And it passes 3-2 with Commissioner Porter and Commissioner Matlow in dissent. All right, we are on item number 13.08.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask just to be sure, that we follow the direction of the motion, that you would like us to bring back essentially a redlined version of Commission Policy 130 with those tweaks, or simply to enact those and we've done? Okay, thank you.
13.08, Madam Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. This item, we have that Commissioner Porter has left the dais. So item 13.08 is the reimbursement of attorney's fees for Commissioner Porter. An anonymous ethics complaint was filed against Commissioner Porter, which was sworn by Mr. Carlos Ray in his capacity as chair. The City of Tallahassee Ethics Board on February 10th, 2021, basically received that complaint. Complaint was dismissed by the City of Tallahassee's Independent Ethics Board order dated March 17, 2021. Commissioner Porter prevailed in every aspect of the complaint that was brought against her. Commissioner Porter selected Ron Meyer of Meyer, Brooks, and Boehm and Hearn, PA, to represent her. During the pendency of this complaint, Commissioner Porter paid attorney Ron Meyer and his firm $2,520 for attorney's fees. Application was made on March 18, 2021 by Commissioner Porter pursuant to City Commission Policy 103, Section 103.05 of the policy provides as follows. The city shall reimburse a public official, officers, and employees for reasonable attorney's fees and costs that such persons have incurred when they successfully defend or prevail in ethics complaints that arise out of and in connection with the scope of their city employment while acting in their official capacity and serving as a public purpose. Commissioner Porter is entitled to reimbursement of reasonable attorney's fees and costs because she has successfully defended and prevailed against the ethics complaint. This complaint arose out of and in connection with her employment with the city while acting in her official capacity as city commissioner. The reimbursement entitlement is pursuant to City Commission Policy 103 and common law in Florida. Recommendation is option 1 to pay the fees.
Move acceptance.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded. Moved by Commissioner Williams-Cox, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. Any discussion? I'm assuming not. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, would you just point out that Commissioner Porter left the room because she could not be in here for this discussion?
Yes, and I am assuming that she formally recused herself with you, Madam Attorney, or does she need to do it on the record?
It would be better if she recused herself on the record. Okay. I didn't notice her walking out. I had my head down, unfortunately.
She's coming back.
Can that be done retroactively, or?
She can come back before you vote.
Commissioner Porter, can we just get a formal recusal?
That needs to be on the record.
Are you good with that?
It's official.
Okay. Let me formally call for the vote again. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? It passes 4-0 with Commissioner Porter in recusal. Do we have any other items to come before the City Commission?
No, sir.
We're on unagendaed business speakers. Mr. Clerk, walk us through, please.
All right, Mayor, we do have a number of individuals who are here to speak to you tonight on unagendaed topics. The first will be Sean Castellano. Each speaker will come to the microphone in the middle of the room, and after providing their name and address, each will have 3 minutes for remarks. And Sean Castellano is first, and then Jeremy Block.
Mr. Clerk, how many people do we have signed up right now?
We have 8 or 9 in person and 2 virtual.
Excellent, wonderful. Okay. Yes, sir. Your name and address for the record, please. Thanks for joining us.
Sean Adair Castellano. My address is 1008 Sheriff Court, Apartment 16, Tallahassee, Florida, 32312. I just want to thank everybody. I'm new here. It's my first time, so I just want to thank everybody. It was a pretty intense little moment just then, but everything other than that, it was very nice. I just want to reach out to Mr. Matlow and Ms. Porter. I've reached out to them online and through certain things, and she's reached out to me a lot. So I support all of y'all, but I really are intrigued by Ms. Porter and Mr. Matlow, and I feel like I believe the same beliefs they do when I voted her in. But yeah, I'd just like to thank you for all you do. You encourage me to want to do better. There's some things about homelessness and other things, but I'll get to that later. I feel like I'm not equipped enough to be able to talk about that. But I just want to thank each and every one of you, Ms. Williams, Mr. Curtis, Richardson, you two, and Mr. Matlow, and Mr. Daly. Just thank you all for your hard work. I know it's not an easy job, but I feel like with all of us just try to come together, that city of Tallahassee will be at a better place. So thank you all for your time, and thank you.
Hey, wow, thank you. We appreciate that. Mr. Clerk, our
Next speaker is Jeremy Block, followed by Ginger Proctor.
Thank you for coming out and joining us. Your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, good evening. Jeremy Block, 1109 East 6th Avenue in Tallahassee, 32303. I'm here to talk about a time-sensitive matter, and I want to be an advocate for those citizens in the city that are going to be affected by their utility turn-off, which is now only 18 days away. I've done some research and communicated with the administrator's office over at the county, and they've initiated the CARES program where folks can sign up for assistance, both utility and rent. It just went into effect on the 29th of March. As of Friday, the information I've been able to glean from the individuals there is that there have been 2,500 applicants to date. Now, of course, we have to put the filter on that. And the filter is that not everybody who applies is going to be able to document that their financial hardship is due to COVID. And that's like number one on the list of how to qualify for the assistance of the CARES money. But the point of the story is that they are administering it. And the city, which is separate from the county, has got this clock ticking. So in a way, it appears that you're working against each other, or at least not well communicating. All right? So I did a little arithmetic. The figures I was working with were there are approximately 760 delinquent utility accounts in the city right now. Most of the ones I've visualized have been in the neighborhood of $2,000. According to the information I received, there are about 125 pending evictions at the circuit court. The CARES money is $9 million. Doing the arithmetic, 760 delinquent utility accounts is about $2,000 apiece. If you pay $800 a month rent for your apartment, and it's been about 10 months in the rears, that's about $8,000. So that's each individual who qualifies for CARES money is already behind the 8 ball. Dividing that 10,000 into 9 million, the county is going to be able to help approximately 1,000 homeowners. That money is going to run out real quick. So it's a very tenuous situation on many levels.
You have just a few seconds remaining.
But the one that you guys are responsible for, which is setting the date of April 26th to start turning off utilities, you have the power to adjust that. And I would strongly urge you to do so immediately. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, our next speaker.
Next is Ginger Proctor, and then Stanley Sims.
Thank you so much for joining us. Your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you. Ginger Proctor, 1111 Brookwood Drive. I'm just going to take a minute, but thank you all again for your leadership concerning City Walk Shelter and church. And I really appreciate you sticking with the facts. The facts are centered around code enforcement and violations, safety for our neighborhoods and the clients that are living there, and the nuisance that has been caused in and around our neighborhoods. Zoning matters. This is about the safety of our children, our families, our elderly, and our neighborhoods in general. Thank you again for staying the course.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Mr. Clerk.
Stanley Sims.
I'm going to speak on multiple issues.
Number 10, the 1001, the TPD grant. Mr. Mayor, I love for TPD to start leveraging some community grants, not just law enforcement grants, something that will build trust in our community. Number 2, I want to talk about the golf course. It's not true that Jay Gaither is on the same level as Holloman. A year ago, my son was 5 minutes away from being robbed at Holloman. The employee that was robbed, they moved him, but they kept my son there. They promised security lights. Yeah, they fixed the flooding, but they didn't. The amenities at Holloman are nothing like the at Jay Gaither. And I'm very proud for Elijah and that other black guy that she helped with golfing. But what about my black son? My son been working at the golf course for 4 years and not making a fair wage. He works part-time. His hours has been limited and cut. So what's wrong with him? Why is she not doing it for my son? Is it because his last name? The next thing, Miss Porter, I love you and ain't nothing you can do about it. You ran this campaign on your ground. And I think it's so unfair for your fellow commissioners to conform how you interact with us. I think it's wrong. And if I were you, I'll hire another lawyer because I believe that motion is illegal. These kids are working for free. The opportunities that avail them. And you cut that off because you're afraid they might steal? Well, we caught the thief. He going to jail. He waiting for federal court. That was Scott. That was not an intern.
You have about a minute.
And to say that in front of these young kids, Curtis, it's a shame. This big old building we built, and we don't have room for our youth. Our youth. I know what I want to say, but I'm trying to make it sound right. Because what I saw here today is disappointing. Well, let's do this. Commissioner Porter and Matlow, let's go down Old Bainbridge Road and look at them narrow behind sidewalks with the overgrown weeds. Yeah, they cut them back now, but the children had to walk out in the street. That busy street, didn't I show you, Miss Porter? She does live town hall meetings. Call that lady right there, she gonna answer. I don't know what it take to float your boat, but these kids don't steal. They don't go to FSU games and sit up in the press box. Those are not the thieves.
Next speaker is Michelle Eubanks. Michelle Eubanks, and then Shelby Green.
Your name and address for the record, please.
Michelle Eubanks, 1462 Mitchell Avenue. Hello, commissioners, and hello to our city manager. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. One, because you've been inundated with our views and opinions on the homeless, and two, because I'm freezing, and I wish I would turn the thermostat up and probably save us some taxpayer money. Anyway, we understand that City Walk has disengaged themselves from the city and the BBCOC. But now, under the pretense of a church, which was not their original purpose, it appears they're going after HUD financing to operate as a homeless shelter / supportive housing. I reiterate, City Walk is operating illegally and creating a safety hazard. Is this the type of operation we want in our community that blatantly defies the law and vilifies people for either doing your job or protecting their neighborhoods? Now, in addition to all the videos, testimonies, police reports that have already been presented showing the safety threat the City Walk poses, we see in the Tallahassee Democrat last week that City Walk is keeping alleged murderers and having City Walk listed as their permanent address. So to conclude, please enforce the law as soon as possible and make our neighborhoods safe again. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please.
Next is Shelby Green. Mayor and Commissioners, I have a handout that was provided. I'll make sure each of your offices gets a copy, and we'll keep a copy for the record.
You,
Pass
hi,
them out,
Board.
Jim. Just while she's speaking, pass them out. Yeah.
Yeah, please. That way-
Thanks for joining us. Your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, Board. My name is Shelby Green. I reside at 519 Ingleside Avenue. And while the presentation is being passed out, I would just like to say that I just appreciate you all taking the time. And yeah, I'll just get going then. So I'm a volunteer with the Providence Neighborhood Association, and I'm here to talk today about more about communication and this bad game of telephone that we've all been playing, especially regarding the utility moratorium, but specifically how this policy has been communicated to the Providence Neighborhood Association, and we're here to express our concerns about the city's communication strategies. So just for some quick background information, on the February 24th City Commission meeting, you all voted on an item and ultimately voted to authorize staff to resume utility disconnections for non-payment. And there was a caveat with that decision. One was that it was understood the utility department would provide customers with a 60-day advance notice, that they would also work with our utility customers to apply for federal funds, and that they would also establish payment agreements with utility customers on a case-by-case basis. And from that, my main understanding is that there's a defined goal here, which is to return back to standard operating procedure while ensuring 0% of our residents with delinquent utility accounts lose their utilities. And with that goal, the process, as it was communicated during that meeting, was direct communication with residents to work with them to apply for federal funds and to establish payment agreements. However, my main question and the Providence neighborhood's main questions and concerns are, what was the defined and expected methodology? Because prior to canvassing, when we reached out to the utilities department, we had received conflicting information from the utilities department, and there was no direct information about what's required to apply for the CARES program or how long it would take from application to approval to the utility account balance being paid. And also in your packet, you'll see some screenshots of communications I've received directly from the utilities department.
You're at about 30 seconds remaining.
Okay. And so during canvassing, I just wanted to say that there's 12 residents in Providence that have delinquent utility accounts. 1 out of 12 of them received physical communication from the city, but 0 of them knew that the moratorium was ending, let alone in less than 30 days. So clearly there is a miscommunication problem, and I believe that it fully needs to be addressed before the moratorium ends. And we do realize that the utilities is a business, but it is publicly funded. So we want to make sure that the board is establishing communication practices and that our residents are getting all the information that they need to make the right decisions.
You're at 3 minutes.
Okay, the last page, how do we reach that goal together? I do think it would be worthwhile to have a discussion with other neighborhood associations and organizations about what they experience while talking to residents. And also, I think staff should come back with a direct and defined communication strategy so that they can report on who has been contacted and through what means, who has taken action.
Ms. Green,
and
could
who
you
hasn't
wrap
been
up your
contacted.
comments? That'd be great. Thank you.
Great. On the last page, if you'd like to reach out, my name and email is on there, and please do, because we want to make sure no one uses their utilities summer's approaching.
Great. Thank you so much.
Next speaker is Henry Choice. I believe he may have left, but I wanted to make sure he's not in outside the doors there. Henry Choice. Right. Then next is Nancy Marciniak.
Your name and address for the record, please. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you. Nancy Marcinac, 2762 Sweet Ridge Street, Tallahassee 32308. First, I want to thank the city manager. Last time I was here, I spoke about Canopy and the PUD, and you assigned Wayne to come and speak with me and my committee that I had formed for Canopy, and he did so. And I'm sure he's back there. Yes, he is. And he brought along the neighborhood affairs gentleman, John Doherty. So in follow-up, we kept him for like 2 hours, and he was great and really listened to our concerns. And we had a follow-up meeting literally on my front porch in my front yard with Neighborhood Affairs John Doherty, and he brought a sergeant, Sergeant Morris, and we discussed about what was going on with District 850, which was the main concern that concerned them. And they definitely listened to what our concerns were, said they were going to talk to Mr. Patel at District 850, and also said they would call or email us in regards to a crime watch. I have not heard from them since then. It's been a couple weeks. And then I sent back a message to Wayne that I had not really received any really solid answers from growth management and environmental. And so he said, let me reach back out to him. Here's the statement. I specifically listed a few things, and he sent it to them. They sent back the same answers they have sent to me in the past, which were just like, they weren't really answers. They were just like, yeah, so they did, I looked at the paperwork and they did do a berm. No, someone needs to come out and look at this berm. It's this high. It's not gonna do anything. So the concerns were that District 850 was too noisy. There was a lot of things going on there. And so I haven't heard anything back from them. I haven't heard anything back from the city except for Keith Burnseed or something like that, responded and said, maybe your responses to me are saying that you really would rather have a meeting in person. And I said, absolutely. Come and meet on the back of my porch that faces District 850. Let's talk about all the issues that Canopy is facing. And I said, we can all wear our mask and social distance. And he said, sure. That was 2 weeks ago.
You have a minute left.
And he never called, texted, emailed me back. So our big concern is that I know that when the CDD and Tom Asbury come up here and they say, hey, we want to separate 10 acres from the CDD, you guys have no reason not to say yes, because you're not told what it's going to be used for, correct? So the issue is that he has obligations to finish what he started. He has not done the southwest stormwater drain pond behind my house. 3 years I have lived there. It's still unusable. The city can't take over it. He's not meeting the demands that he's supposed to, and nobody's putting any pressure on him. But the city is allowing him to do more permitting, to build more houses to make more money, but he's not spending any money, and he doesn't have any obligation to give us, to fix that, to give us our multi-use trails, or to give us our clubhouse pool. 3 years. We're kind of over it. We really would like for you guys to reconsider when he comes up here and asks for permits to let 10 acres go for something. Please really reconsider. I appreciate everything you guys do for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker.
Mayor, that's the last speaker I have in person. We do have a couple of folks connected virtually, so we'll go to those folks now. First will be Sarah Teresa Haskell.
Ms. Haskell? Ms. Haskell?
Can you hear me?
Sure can. Your name and address for the record, please. 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you, sir. My name's Sarah Teresa Haskell. I live at 923 Alachua Avenue. Homelessness is a complex issue. In the problem-solving process for the homeless, our laws and processes must be followed so we protect our community and its citizens. Our message has not changed. City Walk's location is inappropriate, and City Walk opened illegally after the cold night emergency was over. The blatant disregard for the safety of the Tallahassee children, with a total of 10 schools and daycare within easy walking distance of City Walk, the safety of hardworking businesses, and the safety of the Tallahassee citizen is a major concern to us. We continue to question the legality of the distance between City Walk and Hilltop Academy Child Care Facility, which is across the street from City Walk. Don't we matter too? Tallahassee citizens have invested their lives in this community. We support our community and follow the laws and processes. City Walk keeps beating the drum that we are villains or we are opposed to City Walk. That is wrong. In reality, City Walk has been reached out to. A specific example, at the March 10th City Commission meeting, Commissioner Diane Williams-Cox read an email from BBCOC offering to assess City Walk's clients and try to place them. Then an invitation was extended to City Walk to attend the meeting the next day. It appeared BBCOC was reaching out to City Walk. City Walk declined both offers. 2 weeks later, on Tuesday, March the 23rd, on the news, City Walk said, "We have been expecting it. We saw it." That's what City Walk shared in response to the video of them receiving a notice by the City of Tallahassee on Monday, March the 22nd. The notice stated that City Walk's 60 clients must find another location in 5 days when the shelter is expected to close its door. I should just put them on the sidewalk, asked City Walk. That is sick. That is evil. And I'm ashamed of my Tallahassee government for trying to force me to do that. Why did City Walk decline the offer for help 2 weeks prior? City Walk's clients would have been on their way to be taken care of. There was no need to put the City Walk clients in this bad position and use them for what appeared to me was leverage. Now we have the additional discoveries and concerns. There are potential safety issues to this facility.
You're at 30
So I am
seconds.
here. Sorry?
You're at 30 seconds remaining.
Okay, thank you so much. So I am here to say we are not villains. We oppose City Walk's location. We oppose City Walk opening illegally without regard for our laws and processes that protect our community, our citizens, and yes, the homeless too. Thank you so much for your support and for our community and all that you do.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker.
Next is Samantha Benjamin. Samantha Benjamin.
Ms. Benjamin,
I'm here.
thank you for joining us. Your name and
Can you
address
hear-
for the record, please.
Samantha Benjamin, 1824 Jasmine Drive. I would like to thank all of you commissioners. I appreciate that each of you are really listening to every person in spite of the sometimes disrespectful and even at times aggressive behavior many are treating some of you with. I'm so sorry for the reckless and borderline obsessive attempts of slandering some of your characters, for all of the bullying and shaming just to manipulate all of you into submission. I'm really proud of all of you and appreciate your examples of leadership, your patience and respect, sincerity, and professionalism. This level of professionalism comes from an upright character. The ability to not crumble under the extreme bullying is a confidence that I believe comes from within when doing the right thing. I'm so deeply offended that a pastor is leading others into such deep hatred and discord, jealousy, and fits of rage, selfish ambitions, dissensions, factions, and envy, through shaming and bullying and using racial divide to attain a group of supporters for numbers only, purely to manipulate personal gain to win her battle. I would like to use this opportunity to share a message of scriptures that I believe applies to City Walk Church and its leadership. Brothers and sisters, I could not address you as people who live by the Spirit, but as people who are still worldly. You are still worldly, for since there is jealousy and quarreling among you, are you not worldly? Are you not acting like mere humans? What causes fights and quarrels among you? Do they not come from your desires that battle within you? You desire, but you do not have, so you kill. You covet, but you cannot get what you want, so you quarrel and you fight. You do not have because you do not ask God. When you ask, you do not receive because you ask with wrong motives. You adulterous people, don't you know that friendship with the world means enmity against God? Therefore, anyone who chooses to be friends of the world becomes an enemy of God. Jesus is clear that not everyone who says to him, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only those who does the will of his Father who is in heaven. Many will say to him on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name drive out demons, and in your name perform many miracles? Then Jesus says, I will tell them plainly, I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoer. All a person's way seems pure to them, but motives are weighed by the Lord.
You have 20
Jesus
seconds
must
remaining.
become greater. Jesus must become greater, and we must become less. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers this evening?
Yes, sir, Mayor. I have one additional speaker, Christique Henry, and we'll give each of you this handout that was provided to me, but
Wonderful.
That's in person, but I believe she's virtual. So Christique Henry.
Ms. Henry, your name and address for the record, please. 3 minutes. Ms. Henry? Christique?
She's frozen. She's unfrozen.
Okay. Hey, y'all. Good evening. I'm here. How are you doing?
Great. Your name and address for the record, please.
Christique Henry, 2207 Pontiac Drive, Tallahassee, Florida, 32301. All right. So good evening. I am here to hopefully give a little bit of hope and to give a great deal of excitement. I have had the opportunity with the South City Foundation to work with a fantastic citizen group to pull together what we call our inaugural Soul of Southside Humanities and Arts Festival that will take place in May of this year. We are really looking forward to it because we believe that, especially in these times, we need to be extremely innovative in our approaches to bring value and to bring excitement and, quite frankly, to bring hope to our communities. So I am going to share this presentation here quickly to give you a quick overview of this particular festival and to show you, I hope quite plainly, why you should be excited about it as well. So this festival will take place May 20th through the 23rd, and its site is Lake Anita Plaza at FAMU Way, which is within the boundaries of the city of the Tallahassee CRA. Our goal for this festival will be quite simply empowering community through history, commerce, culture, and love. The Soul of Southside Arts and Humanities Festival is an inaugural festival, and we call it an intergenerational festival that we hope to set forth the rich history and diverse legacy in Tallahassee Southside. It will be a hybrid event, so they'll be offered in-person and virtual participation experiences that blend education and entertainment, and that really celebrates the historic influence of Southside and its residents on Tallahassee's economic and human development. This is where the site is. We have a great site map. Just want to share with you some of the achievements we've had in planning this festival, which I think is our greatest contribution. We've been working with a 23-person Southside community-based planning team to inform and to activate this festival. We were given last year a CRA grant of $40,000. We have submitted our COVID plan to the City of Tallahassee. We also were recently given $5,000 from Florida Humanities to fund our Southside Neighborhood History Project and Tour, which is a proactive approach to curating history in Southside for us all to utilize and to share. And we are in support of Florida's Emancipation Day, the legislative bill that going before the Florida legislature, and we're coordinating our activities in accordance with those activities. In my last minute, I'll give you a couple of events that we're really proud of. We are partnering with our community-based partners to hold a Emancipation Drive by Fish Fry for our seniors in Southside, hosted by the almighty Joe Bullitt. We look to serve up to 400 citizens there. We will have an inaugural kickoff ceremony right after an afternoon of remembrance on that same day. That's the 20th of May, which is Emancipation. We are really proud about the Youth Entrepreneurship Expo and Pitch Competition that will offer up to over $2,200 in prize money to winners. We also are really excited about the curation of the history of the neighborhoods that we will make available with our partnership with Meek Eton Black Archives at FAMU. We have over 10 neighborhoods that will be featured in this inaugural showing. We thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to share this wonderful event, and we are grateful for the city and their support in trying to get this thing underway. Shout out to Ashley Edwards and all of her team at Parks, Recreation, Neighborhood Affairs, and all the great people that have stepped forward to really undergird and champion this event.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right. Any more speakers?
No, sir. Mayor, we did have one written comment that will be made a part of the record and it was distributed in advance of the meeting, but no further speakers.
Excellent. Let's move into commission discussion time. I have nothing this evening. Commissioner Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only thing that I would like to announce is that this month, April, is Child Abuse Prevention Month. And earlier today, we were at a press conference at the Tallahassee Police Department where our chief and the staff at the police department partnered with Prevent Child Abuse Florida to bring recognition to this event and to encourage all of us, if we see something or hear something with respect to child abuse in our homes, communities, throughout our state, that we would say something so that we can eventually eradicate child abuse forever in communities across our state and nation. So I just wanted to, and also what they did was to plant a pinwheel garden at the Tallahassee Police Department headquarters in recognition of Child Abuse Prevention Month in the city of Tallahassee. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Williams-Cox.
I just want to just pile on with what Christine Henry shared. I met with the representatives of that group on yesterday, and I am so excited about what is being planned. And I told them I would even write a check, to help, a personal check to help make this happen. I'm excited about what this can be, what this can actually mean, not just to the south side, but to our city as a whole. As you know, Ms. Barnes and myself and the Tallahassee Historical Society and many others, we have been engaging, I'll call it that, with the Florida legislature to prevent, to try to correct our history as it's printed in Florida statutes, to make sure that everyone knows that Florida Emancipation Day is May 20th and not Juneteenth, not June 19th. That's the Texas holiday. And so I am very pleased that we will have some type of meaningful celebration because, we normally have a big celebration in the park, but due to COVID, it's virtual this year. But this group has seen the need, and it's going to be a coordination because the morning activities will be to recognize what we have traditionally recognized, and then the afternoon and the days to follow will be a part of that celebration. So I'm really excited and glad to hear about that. I would like to ask the city manager to provide an update on the reach out for city utilities. I've heard some speakers tonight talk about the disconnect, and I guess I feel some kind of way when we say that there's a moratorium. I don't remember us using that term when we talked about what was going to happen. As I said to a group today, the goal is not to disconnect anyone. We don't want to disconnect anyone. And we're doing some things to try to get folks to talk to us, say something, tell us what you need so a customized plan can be developed. And I know that we all, commissioners, we received an update. We receive an update periodically. I think it's maybe weekly. I don't remember now. I know I've received two of the outreach and the different types of outreach that's taking place. I don't want the public to think that there's a miscommunication. I don't know what else we need to, if we need to do a smoke signal, Morse code, or what, but could you please share, or I don't know if Mr. Barnes is available, could you please share what is really going on so that our residents know that our goal is not to disconnect anyone?
Mr. Mayor, actually, Mr. Barnes is available via WebEx, and he is the best to answer that. I did share an update today with each of you, and we did it about a week ago, and that's our intention. That came out of your last commission meeting. We'll keep you updated as the communication builds, as the progress, which also doesn't just outline the kinds of communication and the volume of communication, which is, as you know, and I'll ask James to comment on this, but the progress toward payment. And so we know out of a group of about 9,050 accounts that we've been tracking and targeting, more than 4,000 of them have paid, some in full, some partially. That's before we've received any CARES dollars through the county, and we've got other agencies. So that is going well in terms of progress. So that's what we had hoped to see. But James, will you provide kind of an outline of the kinds of communication we're doing and the the increase in cadence. Obviously, there's a strategy behind this to make sure we can serve our customers well and connect with them. And James, please share with us what we're doing today. You may be muted.
Is that better? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and appointed officials. I'll be more than happy to sort of provide you with an additional update. Since I spoke with you last, we've had an array of activities trying to ensure that no citizen is not aware of what we're trying to do to connect them with services. As recently as today, we've had 500 folks receive door tags or personal knocks on the door, offering them to give us a call or reach out to Leon County and other areas. Since I initially talked with you about it, we've actually had over 3,000 customers that we have personally had foots on the ground and go to. We are daily sending out email, texts to the tune of 12,515 emails was sent out just on one day, March 30th. We duplicated that again today, and then we're sending out texts. Working with the communication department, we are now working with our social media networks, news release, media outreach, WCOT. We're sending out newsletter and insights and bills. We have taken out ads in Capital City Outlook. We're looking at our partner outreach, Elder Care and Capital Area Foundation, and we have banner on TalGov. We will continue to beat every door, reach every citizen that we can that is delinquent, and offer them a connection to work with us. Look out and go to the county for assistance, or go to some of our other partners who can assist them with delinquent payments.
Thank you. And I can say personally, I have referred individuals who've reached out to me. I have called Mr. Barnes personally and put him in connection with folks, and he has worked with them. I know he has because they haven't called me back. So, and he called me back to let me know what he did. So we're doing as much as we can. And I'm going to use the words that President Biden used. If you got a better idea of how we can do this, if you have a better idea of how we can do this, please come forward with it so that we can do it, because we do not want to disconnect anyone. We do not. But at some point, we've got to know what's going on. If you need help, or if you're no longer there, or whatever the situation is, because I understand there's some situations where people have moved on and other folks have moved in, and, you know, the utilities are already on, so what do you do? So, you know, we're just trying to get a customized help system to help residents. I don't want anyone to be disconnected, so we're just trying our best. And I know that folks are also working with the county to get applications so that they are able to get the assistance if you know, as they can. I know I've had a personal conversation with the person who's managing it over at the county, and the public library are places that you can go. I know B.L. Perry, he told me, was going to be a location, and the downtown library is also a location, but you can also make a phone call and get some assistance there. And if there's anything else, I'll just say this, is that if there's anything else I can personally do, I'll pick somebody up, drive them down, I'll do whatever. You know, I'm double vaccinated now, to help people get the help that they need. We don't want anyone's utilities disconnected. But, so I wanted Mr. Barnes to let the community know what is being done to try to assist wherever we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Porter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 3 things that are really just requesting information that I wanted us to consider. One is something that I brought up earlier, just if we could have an item that maybe reviews the legal requirements for the introduction of ordinance title, any changes that we could make to make that more easily digestible to people who are just reviewing an agenda. And then perhaps included in that, to the comments that Commissioner Diane Williams-Cox made about just reviewing for me at least, the outreach steps that we take in that process. But most importantly, I'd just like to see what options there are for making those items a little bit more legible to people. I know there are legal requirements, but if there's anything we can do to make those a little bit more understandable. So I would make a motion if we could have an item come back with some information about what options there are to make those items more digestible.
I'll second that motion for discussion.
Okay? Motion's been properly made by Commissioner Porter, seconded by Commissioner Williams-Cox. Discussion.
My discussion is, I don't disagree with you, but I'm wondering, and Madam Attorney and I have had these conversations through the past few months about doing some type of sessions or trainings for our residents to help all of us understand, not just the ordinances, but how our city is put together, how things actually work, you know, what are the roles of the appointed officials, the commissioners, so in like an education, even with the agenda, how it's developed, what does it mean, and those kinds of things. I know that some of this may be covered in the Neighborhood Leadership Academy, or whatever it's called, but I think we may need something more pointed, where the session today will be on the ordinances. What are the requirements? What does it mean? What, you know, that kind of thing, just kind of break it down into layman's terms. There are just a number of things that are part of our city that may be confusing to just, you know, the lay folks. I'm lay. I only know what I know because I used to come to commission meetings raising you know what. And so I began to understand, but everybody didn't have that kind of time. So I support having some type of session, training, informational, to share some of that information. And then, as you say, make it clear, make it, you know, plain English. Although, as attorneys, I know there are legal requirements that you must do in order for it to be law, and explain that is why it's this way, because that's what the law requires, kind of thing, so.
Good point. Motion's on the table, made by Commissioner Porter, seconded by Commissioner Williams-Cox. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Passes 5-0. Commissioner Porter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The second item is also kind of an informational item. I sit on the Appalachia Regional Planning Council. I was contacted by them about a kind of a statewide initiative. They are establishing what are called resilience collaboratives between counties and certain regions. And this is information that I assume would be included in the item, but basically this is something that the Senate President, our Governor, the House Speaker is working with FDEP to support, and it looks like there will be grant opportunities specifically for these resilience collaboratives. My understanding is that they are MOUs that cities or counties enter into with the ARPC. They're non-binding. It's really my understanding, but I'd like, if my motion is if we could have an item brought back that's informational about these resilience collaboratives, what they entail, what benefits might there be to us joining. So that is my motion, and it's something that the ARPC board asked me to bring to the city for its consideration.
As a former member of the ARPC, second.
So can you clarify the motion?
The motion is to have an item brought back to us that's informational about the Resilience Collaborative.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Porter, seconded by Commissioner Williams-Cox. Seeing no further comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Passes unanimously 5-0. Commissioner Porter.
Thank you. And my final item is about municipal IDs. I don't know if any of my colleagues have heard of this. This is something that's come up with some of the residents I've spoken to as they go through applying for Leon Cares and even applying for Tempo. There are some people who are either, they don't drive, they're not eligible to drive, they might not have a passport, they might not even have their birth certificate. It's something that a lot of other cities have begun to implement as a way, basically it's a municipally issued ID that gives residents access to whether it's decided by the municipality if it's enough to open a library card, if it's enough to open a utility account, if it's enough to, apply for Leon Cares. But what it allows people to do is people who maybe they don't have the documents they need, they don't have access to those documents, the record keeping they might get a driver's license or whatever, it allows them to still connect with those services. So I was wondering if we could get an item brought back on just municipal IDs in general, what other cities have done, and that's really it. I would just like to learn more about it.
Second.
Motion's been made for informational item by Commissioner Porter, seconded by Commissioner Don Williams-Cox. Seeing no further comment? Comment?
A
Commissioner
quick
Williams-Cox.
comment, I was on a call today, because IDs are needed for vaccination. I heard this on a partner call today with Big B and Continuum Care, that there's something going out there to help individuals get an ID, because you do have to, they are verifying, you gotta have residency, you gotta, there's some other things that you have to have in order to get your vaccination. So I think that this is probably timely, and then it also helps with preventing voter suppression, possibly, by helping folks get an ID. But I know that there are some other ramifications, but I just mentioned that might be something that we can assist with as well. So I support the motion.
All those in favor of the motion on the table signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Excuse me. All those opposed? Passes unanimously, 5-0. Commissioner Porter, anything else?
Thank you, that's all.
Great. Commissioner Matlow, are you still with us? Do you have anything for the good of the order?
I'm still with you. I miss all of you, but no, I have nothing to add tonight. Have a good evening.
Jeremy, hope you feel better, man. Stay in bed. Don't come and get us all sick, okay? Seriously, hope you feel better. With that, we stand adjourned.